Today we will be talking about the Primarchs, specifically the 10 Loyalist Primarchs, and not the weird degenerates on the other side.
So what's like the difference between the loyalists and the other ones, the degenerates that you said?
So, first off, do you know what a Primarch is? Since you're asking me a very bizarre jump question, what's a Primarch then, Chris? Since you're going to ask me about the difference between loyalists and traitors.
Well, from what I remember, a Primarch is like like the Ultramarine, the Ultramarines. Their Primarch is Reboot Gilliman, and he's like the top.
Gilliman?
Yeah,
Yes.
Reboot Gilliman. He's like the top one that they get their gene seed from, right? He's like he's like the boss.
More complicated than just the boss. First off, the Primarchs, there were 20 Primarchs. 2 are still missing, and no one has any idea what the fuck happened to them. They are just gone. They were never found. But the other 18 were found. And the 20 Primarchs were the children of the Emperor, but like the direct children, the sons of the Emperor. So they're also like all of them are about 10 foot tall, and all have aspects of the Emperor directly in them. For example,
when you said that the Primarchs are the Emperor's sons, like biological sons or like adoptive sons?
Biological. He genetically engineered them off his own DNA.
Oh, so it's not like he's like he like had sex with a lady and then the lady gave birth to all the kids. Okay.
No. What he did was he went to a vat and put some weird shit in it and came out with 20 infants who then got stolen and spammed out into space in arbitrary directions. And all landed on planets somehow.
Arbitrary directions. Was it planned to do that, or
no? They were stolen.
Oh wait, the Primarchs were stolen.
Yeah, when they were first created, they were stolen. Didn't you know that?
No, I didn't. Who stole them?
None of them. That is a whole different story that involves the female component that the Emperor used, and I still don't know those full details, but I will know them by the next time we talk about the other 8 Primarchs who are worth a damn. Presently, though, we're just talking about these very specific, 8. Well, 9. But they aren't all that alive anymore. However, if you want to know about the Primarchs and the split down the middle of loyalist versus traitor, it's anyone who followed Horus during the Horus Heresy is a traitor, and anyone who didn't is loyalist.
Oh, that's simple.
It's kind of that. It's quite easy to know.
Okay.
But it got complicated afterwards because then a bunch of them either vanished or died, and it's hard to tell. But we're going to start off with this discussion on the Primarchs, talking about the one I'm going to say is the first, because he is in charge of the First Legion. He was the Primarch of the First Legion of Space Marines, the Dark Angels, and my personal favorite of the Primarchs, with one kind of exception, but he's still my favorite because I've read his book and it was really cool, is Lionel Johnson, the Primarch of the Dark Angels. His early life, he was spammed off into space, and he crash landed on a planet called Caliban, which was a feudal death world. It was completely filled with gigantic, immense forests that were inhabited by like monstrous mutated monsters. Well, they say beasts, but they're monsters that had a bit of chaos laced within their genetics, so they were kind of incredibly weird monsters. Mostly due to the fact that this planet was close to the Eye of Terror. The Eye of Terror being something I will talk about on another video, but all you need to know is it's basically where the warp kind of has a hole in reality. And the Emperor holds that closed.
So he must have been like a really like super badass motherfucker in order to like survive on this death world with all those like monsters and shit.
When he landed on the death world, he was an infant, and he was found by a set of knights of the world.
Ah, okay.
Found him and took him. They just took him to the. He was discovered by a hunting party by the knights of the Order, which is a stupid name, but it's what Games Workshop gave him. And they had some like weird. They were fighting off some weird monsters when they found him, and he helped them fight it off. He also, I mean, I say infant. He wasn't that long. He wasn't that old, because it was over 150 Terran years later. So 150 Earth years later, but you know, deep space makes everything weird.
Yeah.
So
it's funny when you said he arrived on the planet as a baby and got rescued by the knights. It's like, is this dude like the Superman of Warhammer? Like origin story wise?
All the Primarchs landed like that.
Ah, okay.
Some got lucky, some got really unlucky. But most of the really unlucky ones became traitor Primarchs. The lucky ones kind of didn't. They were most like, we don't need that shit. But he ended up killing one of these big beasts, and he would hunt them.
Mm-hmm.
And he killed them with such ferocity it earned him the nickname of the Lion.
Oh, that's cool.
L. Johnson was kind of the title he got from the lingo of the planet, where L. Johnson kind of referred to the forest. He was the Lion of the Forest.
Oh, that's a cool nickname. That's a really cool name.
Do keep in mind, this is a half-remembered fact. So if I'm wrong, comments. Do not shit on Chris. You can shit on me, but like, just remember, I'm half remembering this, so shut the fuck up.
So I'm guessing, like to sidetrack. Since he is a Primarch and he was like born of the Emperor's like genetic code, I'm guessing he's a lot bigger and stronger than like a normal human would be, right? Or like a normal Space Marine.
Okay, see, there's a difference between a normal human and a normal Space Marine, right?
Yeah.
Normal Space Marines are already super soldiers, and they're super strong and super big, right?
Yeah.
Primarchs are the same level of bigger and better than Space Marines that they are to humans. So these 20 guys are fucking huge. They're super strong.
Because I'm trying to visualize when you said that he killed that monster like so ferociously and named him the Lion. Like, he must have been like really huge. Well,
in the book I read, right, which is when he wakes up, spoilers, but he wakes up in the 41st millennium, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he fights a bunch. He ends up, at the end of the story, he ends up fighting a bunch of Chaos Marines. He single-handedly picks one up and breaks his spine
with one hand.
With both his hands. But But keep in mind, when he does this, right?
Uh-huh.
He complains about being afflicted by something. He pulls off his helmet, and he's basically just the only thing that's actually afflicting him is he got old. He got old, but he kicked the shit out of this guy, like, easily. And you're like, what?
That
fucking hot?
It's like, I could have sworn that I've seen this or like heard this, but like actually no, it's from One Punch Man, like when Saitama is like still training to be like the strongest hero, and he goes up against a monster and it punches him in the face, and like he spits out a tooth, and then when he looks back, he's like completely like 100% like regular ass Saitama with his super simple face.
Yeah.
That was him being old is the only debuff that he had.
Pretty much. He just got old, and he's just like,
And he still managed
like the Chaos Marine.
Yeah.
The Chaos Marine was like, my lord, you just got old. And then he got his face blasted with a bolt round.
So what else can you tell me about this Lionel Johnson dude?
So Lionel Johnson, when he got all the Primarchs had kind of a rite of passage where they were found by the Emperor himself, and the Emperor came and got them, each of them, right? He came and found them. I'm trying to remember how. So when the Emperor came, right, it was in the middle of Lionel Johnson leading a charge against, or he was leading his knights against the beasts of the planet to try and tame the planet, which he succeeded at doing. So he essentially ended up becoming the Lord of Caliban. It was his planet. So he was the ruler, and the knight who found him who found him in his crash ship and stuff on Caliban, Luther became his second in command.
Okay.
Keep in mind, Luther's important to the story of Lionel Johnson, but I'm doing a really condensed version of the story of Lionel Johnson. So he got found by the Emperor during this thing, and he kind of came in disguise at first to kind of hide that he was there, and he wasn't glowing like he did in some of the other ones. But he did also come down in his great vessel, so he didn't look giant imposing, but he did come down in a gigantic fucking ship and land on the planet, and everyone was like, "Fucking what?"
It's funny.
There was one other interesting thing that happened when the Emperor arrived. Is that some of the super conservative knights, so basically the Republicans of his planet, decided they would try and assassinate him. It didn't work because they got murdered by the Imperium, but they tried.
They tried to assassinate the Emperor or Lionel Johnson?
Yeah. No, the Emperor.
Oh, yeah. I could imagine just him waving his hand and then them just fucking evaporating or something like that.
Pretty much. But that ended in a lot of complicated stuff with Lionel Johnson leaving to go and he left Caliban to go and lead the First Legion, and I can't remember what their original name was, but he renamed them he was the one who gave them the name of the Dark Angels, right? So they wear dark green armor, and that's their whole thing. They were known to be the jack of all trades unit, where they could do everything, and they were always kind of a little bit secretive, a little bit sus, a little bit in the corner, but they were super specialists at anything. Later on, some of the other legions were hyper specialized in what they were good at.
I could have sworn that went to the Ultramarines, because I've always heard the Ultramarines are always the jack of all trades.
Kind of, but see, the Ultramarines came after
the Dark Angels. Okay.
After the Dark Angels, so they're the 13th Legion, so they're far away. There were a few that were kind of good at everything, but the Ultramarines are better at statesmanship and maintaining stuff, right? The Dark Angels could do that, but they were slightly better at conquering shit. And you want to go get a city fucking annihilated? Send the Dark Angels in, man.
It's funny when you mention the Emperor came in in disguise, basically, because I'm reminded of because the only background
I might have mixed up his appearance before two separate Primarchs, because he did do that a few times. I know he did it when he met Vulcan.
Yeah, that's the one.
He did it when he met Corvus Corax.
That's the only one out of all these Primarch backstories that I sort of remember. Because the thing with Vulcan is that Emperor came disguised, and they both did the competition and shit.
Well, he did do a lot of competitions against quite a few of the loyal sons.
Well, competition tests sort of thing, like you mentioned.
No.
See if they were worthy.
Yeah, he did it for more than just Vulcan. He also did it for... Oh, I'll get to them. Don't worry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'll get to the others. So, Lionel Johnson was put in charge of the First Legion, the Dark Angels, and they went out into the Great Crusade to go and conquer the galaxy for the Imperium, so the Imperium could, claim the galaxy for humanity. So he left. He vanished. And he worked. He was the only person other than Horace Lubrical who was considered for the post of War Master. Obviously, he wasn't the one who got it, but he was the one who he was the other guy who was considered for that post. Obviously, Horace got it, and that led to a bit of
heresy.
fuckery.
Yeah,
exactly.
I still don't know the whole thing with the Horus heresy. You'll have to teach me about that. But I'm guessing Horus like betrayed the Emperor and shit.
I'll get to that when we talk about the traitor Primarchs. Those are. It's not even necessarily Horus's fault. He got one of his brothers. One of his brothers fucked with him and did some weird chaos shit.
It always fucking comes back down to chaos, man.
Well, yeah. You'll see when I talk about the traitor Marines or the traitor Primarchs. But for today, we're just doing these because there's a lot. They're dense in story, you know.
Yeah.
So, Lionel Johnson was kind of the most dour and morose, at least during the time of 30K, when he was helping with the Great Crusade and then later the Horus Heresy, right?
Mm-hmm.
He ended up he dedicated himself to the task of like killing all the enemies of humanity. He didn't have time for his brother Sanguinius's like chivalric ideals, because Sanguinius, who is one of the other loyalists, I'll get to him. He was. Wait till I get to Sanguinius. So he didn't have any time for that shit. He was really tired of Mortarion because Mortarion has an arbitrary hatred for mostly Psychers. He fucking hates Psychers with a burning passion, and it's the most ironic hatred you can imagine. And then Fulgrim, who was, super vain and obsessed with beauty and nonsense. And then he was also, he didn't like his brother Magnus either. And so he could fight any of his brothers, right? Match blades with everyone and stalemate the strategies of Guilliman. So they were all, he was kind of on par with everybody. But he was way more bloody-minded than anyone else. Like, he had that, like, kind of stupid, bloody-minded determination of he's going to do it, he will do it. But even if it gets things killed, everyone killed and stuff, he will go through with it, even if it's stupid as fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like
those kinds of people.
Yeah, he's real hard-headed. He just doesn't let anyone get in his way.
I mean, the 40K version of him is not, but that's also like character development, you know?
Yeah.
The 30K version, super hard-headed, does dumb shit, but he's like, I'm gonna do things my way, and I'll fucking do it. I'll just be loyal, but I'm gonna do it my way, you know? And
I'm guessing he eventually grows out of that, right?
Well, it looks like it in 40K, but it took him a long time, because he conquered a fuck of a lot of planets. They had tons of fights, right?
Yeah.
And he reorganized everything into the dark. When he reorganized his legion into the Dark Angels, right? He took several of his knights from Caliban and kind of elevated them to the level of Astartes. Kind of turned them into Space Marines. And Luther became his second in command. Now, Luther's important because while Lionel Johnson did have a few rivalries with his brothers, specifically fuck, I can't remember his name, but he was the worst of his brothers. Crap, I need to actually check which brother it is, because he makes me angry every time he's mentioned.
He makes you angry?
I'm not kidding. Conrad Kurz. Fuck that dude. The Night Haunter, right? So the Night Haunter became like this obsession for Lionel Johnson when the Horus Heresy occurred, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they had a big fight where where eventually it ended with the Dark Angels wiping out Conrad Kurz's his entire legion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, he didn't wipe them out, but he like wounded them enough that they kind of retreated into their own little corner of the galaxy eventually. But when they did this thing where they initially beat them, Conrad Kurz escaped onto the Lion's ship. Onto his ship and then just hid there. And the Lion spent like 2 years trying to find this dickhead on his ship who would like torture people, kill people. He spent 2 years hunting this dickhead down.
How big
Eventually caught him.
How big is the ship in order for him to take like 2 years to find him?
Twice as big as a Star Destroyer.
Jesus. Okay, that kind of makes sense now. Wait, how big was the Kurz dude? Is he like the same size of the Lion, or?
Primarch.
Okay, so I mean, there wouldn't be a lot of places for him to hide.
Yeah, keep in mind, Conrad Kurz was like, imagine Batman, but he's a sadistic fucker.
So like the Batman who laughs.
Yeah. Okay. To be fair, there's two technical Batmen in the Primarchs, but Conrad Kurz was the really fucked up one. You don't want to meet under any circumstances.
Okay. So what happened when Lion found him?
Lion found him and chained him. Now, one little thing I'm going to tell you about Conrad Kurz is he had the ability to see the future, and that's part of why he ended up so fucked up. He would see these visions of stuff since he was like a little child and didn't really understand it. He knew exactly how he was going to die.
Oh, damn.
But by the time he was caught, the Imperium, first off, the Horus Heresy was in full swing, but the Imperium had kind of gotten split in half by a bunch of Chaos Warp Storms. And 3 of the Loyalist Primarchs formed what they called Imperium Secundus, which is just like an Imperium away from the Imperium because they couldn't reach the original Imperium. They were like trapped away. So Rabute Gilliman, Sanguinius, and Lion formed this secondary version of the Imperium that they ruled, with Lionel Johnson kind of fulfilling the role of the War Master, the same as his brother Horus, except he was he had a different title, but it was the same thing. Like, they did the same things within their responsibilities were basically the same, right? And so when they did this and they caught Conrad Kurz, they brought him back to the palace and they had a bit of an argument, the 3 of them. And Sanguinius and Gilliman decided they should execute Conrad Kurz. The Lion talked them out of this entirely because Conrad Kurz had a vision that he would be killed by an agent of the Emperor. And he argued that meant the Emperor was still alive, they could still go find him and get back to him. So they didn't kill him. They instead chained him up in a ship and used Conrad Kurz as kind of a guide to get them to Terra, which at this point was under siege by the other fucking...
The Horus Heresy people, I'm guessing?
Yeah, the other Primarchs were all like pounding the planet. So Sanguinius and Gilliman went off there, and the Lion decided he would try a tactic of drawing the other Primarchs away from Terra by going and bombing their planets till they were rubble.
Okay, yeah.
Didn't really work because these Primarchs didn't give a fuck.
Oh,
they genuinely didn't care. The traitors didn't give a shit. They were like, blah about planets. See if we care.
I guess that just makes them... It makes more sense that they're the traitors because they don't care about anything. Makes them more evil, not even their own home planets.
It's weird because the traitors are kind of right. But only in the beginning.
So
the problem is Chaos twisted their like kind of mission with what it did to all of the Primarchs and their legions.
Yeah. So what happened with Kurz? You said he was chained and trapped on the ship.
He eventually escaped and went on to do to Vulcan.
I'm guessing like he had to escape. As soon as you said like, oh, the Lion talked them out of executing him, yeah, I was like, Oh yeah, he definitely
it was a
escaped
long
and,
story of how
caused
he
more
escaped.
trouble.
He did, but that was it's a whole different story, man. But after that, when he discovered that nothing was happening when he was bombing these planets, he ended up just returning to Caliban, right? But when he got back to Caliban, he discovered half of his legion had been kind of misled. Luther had been kind of corrupted by Chaos because he'd been stranded behind on Caliban. There was a dumb reason for it where he just kind of left them behind and ran off on his own, and then they got divided and there was no communication for like 5 years or something, and then they started becoming really resentful. And Luther at first had been with them in the beginning of the Horus Heresy and then got sent back to Caliban. So when Lionel Johnson got back to Caliban, his ship was instantly attacked by his own units. Right, like his own men. The planet attacked his ships. He attacked them. There was a whole fucking debacle about that fight. And then and then eventually they managed to sort it so that they ceased fire. So they weren't firing down the planet. They weren't shooting back up the planet, right?
Hmm.
But Luther and Lionel Johnson ended up in what was basically a one-on-one fight, which I do believe Luther won, leading to
Was Luther a regular Space Marine, or was he like a Primarch as well?
He was kind of like the father of Lionel Johnson, but he was a normal Space Marine. He wasn't a Primarch.
Okay, and you said he won in this fight?
Yeah, he basically beat Lionel Johnson. Lionel Johnson went into a coma.
Like, was it like a fight to the death, or was it just like a friendly, friendly little match?
No. It was a fight to the death.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say,
Luther kind of...
Was there like a chance that Lionel Johnson just let Luther win because he didn't want to kill his dad?
No. Okay, so remember, I mean, it's possible, but it's unlikely.
That's why I asked if it was a fight to the death type thing.
But they had in their giant battle, there was a psychic attack that appeared to mortally wound Lionel Johnson, right?
Mm-hmm.
And when Luther realized what he'd done, it was as if he'd let go of the bloodthirst, and because he'd been seeing red the whole time they were fighting, and when he kind of won, that feeling lifted, and he was like, "What the fuck have I done?"
Oh, so he was like in a berserker rage type thing.
Yeah, and then when he did it, he just stopped fighting. He dropped to his knees and stopped fighting. He didn't do anything. So they were then caught by the weirdest thing that is linked to the Dark Angels, which is the Watchers in the Dark, who they're like these weird warp entities that I have no idea what they're for, but they're just there. They appear. And then they take things and then they fuck off, right? Or they do stuff, they talk to people and then they vanish. And so that was where Lionel Johnson was left for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Until last year, in our time, right? Last year, a book came out that was about Lionel Johnson, the era Indomitus, which is kind of Gilliman's era of being the leader of the Imperium. And he woke up. He woke up from his 10,000-year-long sleep, where he'd healed. And, he woke up, and he had no idea what the fuck was going on, and he kind of got stuck in this weird thing of the Watchers kept dragging him into this weird world where he could hop planets, but without ships. He would just teleport between planets. It was really weird.
So
while that was
when you said that, when you're saying this, are the Watchers actual physical beings, or are they when he was in his coma, are they coming to him in his coma dream, and Freddy Krueger type?
Both.
Okay.
Both. They're warp entities. So they kind of seem to be able to. Actually, I have no idea what they fucking are. I've looked it up.
I'm guessing there's not
no one seems to know what they are.
There's not a lot of lore about them. Then I'm guessing.
Well, it looks like it's deliberately not a lot of lore. Like they're this mysterious thing that keeps helping him. But when he woke up, he was gifted the Emperor's shield. So he ended up with the Emperor's shield. Gilliman, I'll get to that later when I talk about Gilliman. But he got the Emperor's shield, and he got kind of like his own magic sword that he now has.
Was it the Emperor's sword or just like a different sword?
It's called the Lion Sword.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's called the Lion Sword, and it's his. It was his thing, but it apparently broke.
Oh, like
someone seems to have reforged it, and
so like Aragorn's sword.
Yeah, he's also known to wield a two-handed chainsword called the Wolf's Blade.
Ooh, that's a cool ass name.
Yeah. So that's Lionel Johnson. He's kind of the really serious knight. His whole thing is he's very knight coded, like a knight errant type deal. Next, we're going to go on to the angel. We're going to talk about Sanguinius, also known as the Great Angel, the brightest one, and the Primarch of the Vampire Legion, also known as the Blood Angels.
Are they like actual vampires or
kind of? They're hyper vampire coded. They're not, as far as I can tell, actually vampires.
So they like drink blood and like all that stuff.
Well, kind of. They have like a blood rage thing, and they have like a weird paleness to them. But they're very vampire. If you go read it, they're very vampire coded with like how they describe to look and how they act.
Okay.
But Sanguinius is known as being the angel he looked like, right? So he was this 9-foot tall dude with fucking angel wings. So imagine the X-Men's angel, right?
Yeah.
But he's wearing golden armor and has a giant sword. And he's 9 foot tall and can genuinely fly. But
it's like a biblical angel, like straight up in armor and shit.
No, not a biblical angel, because most biblical angels were also,
I mean, like
spinning eyeballs.
I know, but like our like what we think of angels as like.
You mean a Renaissance? You mean like
a Renaissance angel, like with wings and like all that shit.
Yeah. So. No. I've been informed I should probably tell you to Google biblically accurate angels, because they are horrific looking. They're more chaos than they are.
I know the ones with they're all eyes and like look like little mini Dyson spheres. Yeah, I've seen them.
Mini Dyson spheres. That's one hell of a descriptor of an angel.
Well, I've seen some renditions of the biblically accurate angels that have these like little metal things that have eyes like rotating around them, and it just reminds me of a Dyson sphere.
Fair enough.
All right, so Sanguinius, the vampire dude.
Yes. So Sanguinius, his pod landed on a moon of Bol. No, Bol Secundus, which is basically just, Bol the Second. Anyway, the place he landed at got renamed Angel's Fall, which is fun.
That's a cool name.
But like when he was an infant, he was found by one of the wandering tribes of humans around on the planet, who called themselves the folk of pure blood, or just the blood.
Oh boy, lots of blood.
They have stupid names. I don't know why. I don't like, but so his life almost was ended there and then on that planet, because there was a touch of chaos about, and that changed him a little bit. It gave him tiny vestigial wings, like those of an angel, just they start popping up. I was back, and many humans on this planet wanted to do the Imperial thing of kill the mutant, the heretic,
Yeah.
And they were like, and then
it's very on brand.
They were fined by someone who actually who allowed innate compassion, and they were just like, fuck that, no, he's angelic, fuck off. So they kept him alive, obviously.
And that guy's an outlier.
Yeah, no, he's an outlier, but also A, he's a Primarch, and B, his mutation made him look like a fucking angel. Like, there's a difference between your mutation making you look like an angel and looking like a monstrous blob. Like, which one do you think people are going to want to murder?
Yeah, but I still
blob every time.
I still feel like the Imperium wouldn't care. They'd kill both, wouldn't they?
Yes, but where Sanguinius landed was technically not in the Imperium. Not yet.
Okay.
And so a lot of parables and psalms are recited by the blood in the 41st millennium all talk about Sanguinius as like, they give him like a shrine and they make him almost sacred. Now, a lot of his early stuff is kind of lost because he just grew up like a normal kid for the most part. He could fly. He did learn a bunch of things where he was, but also after like 3 solar weeks, he was about as large as a 3-year-old Earth human. Like, it was as if 3 Earth years had passed, and he could walk, he could fly, and he also slew a giant fire scorpion at this age, which is fun. He was never scared, and apparently, when they say giant, they don't mean like it's a scorpion. It's like, I mean, it's a scorpion. It's the size of a horse.
Oh, so like a rad scorpion from Fallout.
Yeah, kind of. No, bigger than that.
Okay.
Bigger than that. You're thinking too small. Anyway, but he did kill it single-handedly while as like a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
So all the Primarchs had the thing of they grew up really fast, like accelerated aging type deal.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask.
Like they aged up to like an adult and then stopped. I
was going to ask about that. Is that just limited to the Primarchs, or is it this like all Space Marines age fast in order to be? Okay. So it's like a clone thing, like from Star Wars, where the clones have accelerated aging to.
Yeah, but unlike the clones in Star Wars, who stay with accelerated aging, so like by the age of 30 they look 80. Sorry, by the age of 30 they look like 60.
Okay.
They tend to look double their bodies are physically double what the average human would be. But for those clones, it's normal. Anyway.
Yeah, you were mentioning that Sanguinius is like praised and has like shrines and stuff. You make it seem like he's like the Imperium's like favorite.
He's also said to have the purest soul of all the Primarchs. So yes, he was worshipped as a god by the humans of his planet. Who they did owe him because he did a lot where he united all the tribes and then like managed to get rid of a bunch of like mutants, but they were like
evil mutants.
No, I wouldn't say mutants. The evil mutants. They were just like against the people he was with.
Okay, so he would have to kill them, otherwise they would kill the humans he was with.
Yeah.
So you're making it like, so Sanguinius was everyone's favorite. He was worshipped and cherished and shit. He dies, doesn't he? He has to.
Obviously, don't worry. So the Emperor came to him as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Emperor came with one of his brothers, one of the other Primarchs. He came with Rogel Dawn, who I'm also going to talk about tonight because Rogel Dawn is important. And So anyway, so when the emperor came to find him, he found kind of an almost perfect world because Sanguinius was good at that. He got his whole planet united and prosperous properly. And then he came to his psychic powers led him to Bol, where he landed the Conclave of Blood. And he found a natural amphitheater that had been carved from the giant mountain by the Bol tribes, just to serve as like a meeting place, as they do.
Yeah.
But then when he arrived, they found Sanguinius addressing tens of thousands of humans. The Emperor stood within these tens of thousands of humans in his golden shining armor, while all these other people look kind of tattered and stuff. There's the Emperor just standing there being like 10 foot tall in golden shining armor. And they're like, so Sanguinius saw him and immediately knew exactly who he was. But keep in mind, Sanguinius is one of the few other Primarchs who had the ability to see the future.
Also, like
like Conrad Kurz.
Yeah, like Kurz.
But he didn't lose his mind like Conrad.
Oh god, did Kurz kill Sanguinius?
No.
Okay.
Don't worry, I'll get to.
Because you say that like Kurz didn't, Sanguinius didn't lose his mind like Kurz. That would give like Kurz like, how come this guy didn't lose his mind? I gotta kill him. Fuck that dude. He should have lost his mind like me.
He kind of had that, but he was more. But when he tried, Sanguinius kicked his ass.
Okay.
Sanguinius was also a fucking amazing warrior. Just keep that in mind. And his wings actually worked. He could fly. Like, just with his wings. He could genuinely fly quietly if he wanted to. Sanguinius also had another interesting thing. He and his blood angels fought directly at the side of the emperor themselves, serving as like an honor guard to him. But so the Ninth Legion, which is, his legion, the Blood Angels, did kind of have a rivalry with one of the other, with Angron's legion, the World Eaters. Korn's boy.
Oh, okay.
I'll get to Korn's boy later. Don't worry about it. But anyway, the Blood Angels were never that ferocious, right? They were mostly tempered and nice, even with their even when they had like quite a lot of bloodlust, and they did really enjoy a good fight, a good brutal fight. They did like it, but like Sanguinius tempered them down, so they were more chill, kind of had a lot more art and people who were into just keeping things level-headed.
Yeah.
And then they did the Great Crusade, where they went off, they fought orcs, they conquered humans, and then the Horus Heresy happened. Sanguinius didn't do that much. He kind of got stuck and ended up helping Guilliman and the Lion just in their own corner of space, doing their thing, as you do.
Yeah. He must have been a real big help since he was like such a good fighter.
Yeah, but then something popped up called the Red Thirst, which is it's a flaw in his gene seed, which causes something else called the Black Rage. But all of that shit led to a problem with the Blood Angels, where they could lose their minds and just go into a bloodthirsty rage and just want to kill absolutely everyone.
Was the only way to satiate that was to drink blood, I'm guessing, right?
No, it was to go and murder everyone in a 10-foot radius and then, exsanguinate them.
So what's the Red Thirst then?
The Red Thirst is kind of when the rage starts. It's like the first stages, It's like HIV and AIDS being You get HIV first, then you get AIDS, and you don't want AIDS. Red Thirst kind of like stage 1, where it's a bit more bloodthirsty than usual. Ends up fighting and does try and drink blood, and will also do like genocides a lot more, or try and do more genocides. But like, it would be a rage within all of his men, and it also led to him getting caught by Horus, murdering one of his men because they'd gone into this rage, and Sanguinius was actively trying to cure it. But with the Horus heresy happening and the like Great Crusade, he never had time to just sit down and try and cure his children. He was stuck in constant war. There was no time to make things better. He just had to go fight and fight and fight more, and then fight someone else, and then kill someone else. And like, he went and killed demons. He went and did it all. He killed bloodthirsters. And then, Imperius, he was technically the emperor of Imperium Secundus. He became the like other emperor, and didn't like sitting there and being that. He was just like, ooh, cool, the Night Haunter. Let's try and, as mentioned before, let's try and execute that bitch. Anyways. And then when they eventually found out about the stuff, they ran off to Terra, right? Where Sanguinius and
Lionel Johnson
fought alongside. No, Lionel Johnson was not there. He was off destroying people's planets.
Oh, right, yeah, that's what you said earlier. To try to get them away from Terra. So Sanguinius was with Guilliman. What happened then?
So they went to Terra, which is the kind of like common name for Earth within them. And they fought alongside all the Loyalist legions who were still on Earth. They came as like the reinforcements, because they came late. Everyone else was getting fucking pummeled. They'd been holding out for almost a year when the Blood Angels and the Ultramarines pitched and saved their asses. So they then pushed back everybody. They pushed back all of the chaos. They pushed back the forces of chaos until they were pushed back so far that they were pushed back onto Horus's capital ship, right? And Horus then was like, okay, cool. I'm going to try and salvage this situation. So he challenged the Emperor to one-on-one combat on his ship. He said, if you win, I'll be dead, so everyone will pull back and run away. Or we'll retreat and leave Terra. If I win, everyone's fucked. But like the fact that they would all the Chaos Marines would leave Terra was enough that they were like, okay, cool, we're gonna do this.
I feel like that promise wouldn't I feel like Horus would just like I'm trying to phrase it correctly. He would go back on his promise. I feel like Horus would just lie to the Emperor. Or was he like being truthful?
No, he was being truthful.
Oh, okay.
But so Sanguinius already knew that he was going to die at the hands of Horus.
Oh, because he could see the future.
Yes, so he knew how he was going to die. When they teleported aboard the Horus's ship, there were 3 of them. So Sanguinius, Rogel Dawn, and the Emperor. As well as some Custodes, Imperial Fists, and the Blood Angels. Mm-hmm. But not like everyone, it's just like enough to help them get through any
resistance
defenses on the ship that would resistance to get them to Horus himself. They fought their way all the way to Horus. But the Emperor and Horus. Actually, wait. Let me take a step back first. Now, first thing that happened was fully within the power of all 4 Chaos Gods, fully powered up by all 4 Chaos Gods who are all trying to get him to join their side, right?
Uh-huh.
They're also bitching at each other while and they're all giving Horus power. So he's jumped up on fucking Chaos and energy out the wazoo. This motherfucker was on he was on par with the Emperor power-wise, right?
Oh, God.
He offered Sanguinius a chance to renounce the Emperor and join Horus.
Sanguinius said, no, fuck that.
Yeah,
Emperor,
basically.
Emperor for life.
And then, so when he did that, Horus flew into a rage and just attacked him.
Oh.
And Horus and Sanguinius, due to some of the other earlier sections in the fight, or in the battle to get there, he was already somewhat wounded.
Oh, no.
He attacked Horus. So he attacked Horus and they engaged in a brutal battle. That ended with Horus, killing Sanguinius. He was left dead and lying on the floor. And he also Horus made sure the death was as painful as imaginable, right? But he did it in such a way that it was so painful that it affected every single one of the Blood Angels. Everybody who's one of Sanguinius's children, so any of the Blood Angels, when they fall into the Red Thirst, if it goes too deep and turns into the Black Rage, all they see is Horus's face. They start seeing all their enemies as Horus, and they want to destroy that.
Dude,
they fly into a rage and they only see the face of the man who murdered their father.
Dude, Horus gave them generational trauma.
Yeah, but it went on for about 10,000 years.
Extra generational trauma. Oh my god. That's fucked. How did the Emperor react to this? Because I'm guessing like him and Sanguinius had like a nice like relationship. He would have felt like really angry and shit, right?
So the Emperor flew into a rage, and and Horus and the Emperor had a gigantic battle, which Horus almost won. He cut out one of the Emperor's eyes and left him bleeding on the floor. The Emperor was saved by a random Imperial Guard who teleported in, took a blow for the Emperor from Horus, and the Emperor went, okay, cool, and then fucking killed Horus. But he killed Horus so hard he erased Horus's soul.
So he can't get resurrected or anything.
Nope. I mean, they did. Wait till I start talking about the fucking clones of Horus.
So you said a random Imperial Guard took a hit from Horus and saved the Emperor.
Yeah.
Did that Imperial Guard have a name, or is it just like some rando?
I can't remember his name, but he's also unimportant to today's lesson.
I just feel like that Imperial Guard must have had like he must have been like a named character in order to do something like that. That plot relevant.
I know he was. I just can't remember what his name is. Now, since I mentioned him slightly earlier, the next of our Primarchs I'm going to speak about is Rogel Dawn.
Wait, you can't just end it. You can't end it on that.
Yeah, I can, and I just did because you see.
What happened? Wait. Sanguinius died. Like everyone was like,
Sanguinius is dead. Oh, moving on.
Everyone was like sad, right?
Story.
Everyone was sad about it, right?
Yeah. People were rageful and sad, but they were also busy. Very, very busy.
That would be like I'm trying to find like a Star Wars equivalent of Sanguinius. Someone who's like loved by everyone. Obi-Wan, maybe?
Not in universe. Obi-Wan wasn't that loved.
Yoda?
No. Like Sanguinius Sanguinius hit like it was in a weird Luke. Luke's actually probably the closest.
It's like if Luke just died, and then like everyone like felt like was mourning him.
Luke
like
did just die. Luke did just die, and they ignored it. Or did you forget the end of episode 8, and then the fact that episode 9, they're like, oh, he's dead.
Yeah. But it's like if Luke died when he fought Vader, and then they bring him back and they burn him in on Endor, and they just this is like super fucking sad. Everyone's crying.
But
yeah,
the reason I moved on to
rest in peace,
Rogel
Sanguinius. AC doesn't care about Sanguinius. It sounds like.
No, the reason I brought up Rogel Dawn, right, is because Rogel Dawn, also known as the Vigilant, the Praetorian of Terror, the Unyielding One, was the one who carried Sanguinius' body off of Horus's ship.
Oh, okay.
He was the brother who removed his brother from there, as far as I can remember. So
good guy Rogel Dawn.
Rogel Dawn has also known a lot of the fandom, from what I can tell, don't like him. They think he's boring. But he is the Primarch of the 7th Legion. Now, also known as the Imperial Fists. They're a weird bunch whose entire thing.
Were they just like they're proficient in melee combat?
No, their entire thing was siege warfare. They could hold out for virtually ever. They could build impenetrable fortresses. But enough about the Imperial Fists. Let's talk about Rogel Dawn himself. Let's talk about the man himself. The young man who was fired off into space like all the rest of his brothers, and who crashed upon a random planet in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. The ice world of Inuit. He was basically an Inuit.
The planet is called Inuit?
It's called Inuit.
Oh.
INWIT. Inuit.
Games Workshop was not thinking that hard about a name for a planet.
They were like, fuck it, we don't care. It's an ice planet. Inuit.
Yeah.
Fuck it, close enough. Anyway, located in the Inuit cluster. It's got a whole fucking system named after it. Anyway.
Oh my god.
It's a death ice world. Think Hoth, just a bit more rocky. It's basically the same as Hoth, just a lot more rocks.
Yeah, okay.
Same shit, different font. Anyway, just
refer to it as Hoth, and we wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, basically Hoth. Yeah, you wouldn't know the difference, really. Anyway, so he grew up on this planet of fucking ice and stone, and he was raised to just endure and survive.
Mm-hmm.
It teaches his world basically taught him never relent, never give in. But he was also found by like a really good dude who like raised him to be the patriarch, like raised him like as a grandfather, right? And he was like properly that grandfather, you know, to the point of he kept a fur-edged robe that belonged to the man and kept it on his bed and slept on his bed every night, like his little blankie. Grown ass Primarch had a blankie.
Man, it sounds like this guy was like the Papa Kent to Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm. And 40 standard years after his grandfather's death, the Emperor pitched.
Yep, it's a Papa Kent story after all.
Golden armored dickhead himself pitched. Now, he greeted the Emperor. Dawn just greeted the Emperor. He knew who he was, and he was on a giant ship called the Phalanx. It was constructed during the dark age of technology. So it's an old ass ship. All of those things are fucking old ships. Fun fact: Dawn was the 7th Primarch to be found overall.
Who's the first?
Either Horus or depends who you ask, but most sources say Horus.
I can't wait until you talk about the Dark Age technology. Because that sounds really interesting.
I mean, it's like the Dark Ages. There's not that much information other than the Men of Iron and the one Man of Iron who's still wandering around and doing some weird nonsense to people. You don't want to know. Doesn't matter. Let's get back to Rogel Dorn. Now, Dorn was insanely loyal to the Emperor, right? Like fanatically loyal to the Emperor, but he doesn't like from the moment that like they first met, right? And he never like tries to ask him favors. He doesn't ask him anything. He's just like, I'm loyal. Cool. I'm ride or die for you, man. To the point of Rogel Dorn's also one of the only people who ever got a giant statue that got erected on Macragge, so Gilliman's planet. And it stands next to the statue of Gilliman on the same planet, right? Stop eating chips.
What?
I can hear this. I can hear you going shh.
Oh, that's just a napkin. I got something in my nose.
So he was made the Primarch of. He was also made. He was made the Primarch of his legion, which I can't remember where the fuck is this legion? I can't remember.
You call yourself a Warhammer fan?
I don't like this one.
Wait, didn't you say that they're Imperial Fists, right?
Yes, the Imperial Fists. I can't remember their number.
Oh.
I can remember their names, not the numbers. 7. I did say it's the 7th Legion. I am just dumb. My brain did not remember that it's the 7th Legion. It's two idiot gamers. If you guys expecting the lack of idiocy, you guys have come to the wrong fucking place.
It's not that. It's just that you don't care enough to memorize their Legion number. That's how much you don't care about them.
Dawn is so meh, man. But he did get an insane amount of like achievements for the Imperium during the Great Crusade, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the point of even Horus was like, "You guys are probably the best." He said even if they were to hold fortress against my units, right, the Lunar Wolves, so Horus's boys, he's like, yeah, no, this would be an endless stalemate. Neither of us would ever win. We would go fucking nowhere. We'd sit here and shoot each other for like 300 years, and fuck all would happen. It would be stupid as shit. Like that's pretty high praise from Horus, because Horus's legion was pretty fucking good at getting through shit. I read like half of the first novel and then got bored because Horus is a prick. Don't even worry about it. Also, yeah. Anyway,
Horus is such a prick. I don't want to read the rest of this book.
Yeah, basically. Actually, no, it's not. It's not so much that Horus is a prick as Horus isn't really enough in the book to be an interesting enough character. And it's about like his one of his like captains in the Lunar Wolves, and I didn't like him enough to like keep reading the book. He couldn't keep my attention, so I was like, fine, I'll move on with life. I'll go watch a video on how he works. It's fine. Anyway, but he was a powerful warrior. He was an idealist, like an actual bona fide idealist who thought the best of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
But everybody was fucking throwing hands with Conrad Kurz because he also got into a near fatal confrontation with Conrad Kurz before the fucking stupid fucking before the Horus Heresy. Before that happened, they almost killed each other. Like, Annie threw hands with Ferrus Manus, who, you know, after a brutal campaign, and you're like, fucking Ferrus Manus, really? Ferrus Manus? You had a problem with Ferrus Jesus Manus? The fuck's wrong with you?
Wait,
so this guy started fights with people.
Who's
Ferrus Manus is one of his brothers. Most of the names I'll mention will be mostly his brothers.
Why do you refer to him as Jesus?
Wait till I get to Ferrus Manus. He's a loyalist. Just patience. See,
does it end with him getting crucified? Your silence is making me think yes.
No, his thing's worse.
Oh.
But so he was just a defender. He would go and fight, and he would kind of argue with a lot of his brothers.
Mm-hmm.
He would bitch, especially Perturabo. They did not get along. As far as I know, he only really got along with Gilliman and the Emperor. Everyone else he kind of bickered with. Like when Horace got the title of War Master, he was like, "Why was it me? What the fuck? I wanted that," and then just went on his thing. He had rivalries with like Lorgar. He fucking hated Lorgar. Although to be fair, fuck Lorgar. Lorgar's a dickhead. I don't like. Lorgar's the reason we had all these fucking issues.
You hate a lot of people when it comes to the Primarchs.
Primarchs. Most of the traitor Primarchs, right? Most of the story you listen to and you're like, what a whiny bitch. See, I empathize with Angron. Angron, some shit happened to him, and I'm like, fair. But like others, I'm like, what the hell is your problem? So like, there's a bunch of things. For example, when they just decided, you know what? You're not allowed to have. We're gonna outlaw the librarians, which is all the psychers in the Space Marines. Yeah, that. He was fine with it, but like his that didn't go over well with Magnus for obvious reasons. But most of the expeditionary fleet he led, and most of that stuff was just like run of the mill. Cool, they went and conquered planets. They made them strong. They left. They conquered the next one. Moving on. Whatever. However, Rigaldorn was the one who was put in charge of fortifying the Imperial Palace on Terra just before the Horus Heresy kicked in, and he was the one in charge of the defenses when the Horus Heresy came to Terra. So he was the one trying to hold all the guarding on that. And he also tried to hold back the Alpha Legion and a bunch of these guys from getting to the Sol system, so to our solar system. Mm-hmm. It didn't really work. They got all the way to Earth. It was disastrous. But he did manage to hold them at the Imperial Palace, or outside the Imperial City, I believe. But there were a lot of battles.
Man, the Imperial Fist sounds like complete chads if they're able to do all this shit.
They did a lot of shit, and I will say,
what?
I will say he's the only one who's killed one of the other Primarchs. As far as I know, he's one of the few who's straight up killed another Primarch.
Damn, so Rogal killed another Primarch. What Primarch did he...
He killed Alfarius.
Alfarius. Oh. Is it... Wait, Alfarius... That's the one where I've heard that meme, like, I am Alfarius. I am Alfarius.
Yeah, the Spartacus... It's basically a Spartacus joke. And, yeah. So he's the Primarch of the Alpha Legion, the, like, stealthy bitches. So... He straight up killed his brother, but it was kind of not quite perfect because he did manage to put a chainsaw to the top of Alfarius' skull. He didn't escape completely unwounded, but Omegon, so Alfarius' twin, sensed the death of his sibling and just sort of vanished. They ditched everyone as part of why the Horus Heresy failed. But then after killing Alfarius, he went back to Earth and he was tasked with bolstering all the defense of the Imperial Palace, which he did. They held on for a long fucking time. And he survived. He survived the final battle. He went and he also took the crippled emperor and was the one who placed him upon the golden throne, where he just stayed for the next 10 millennia. But it was Rogel Dorn who put him there in the first place. Now, after the interment of the emperor on the golden throne and the death of Sanguinius, he felt the emperor's demise was his fault.
Mm-hmm.
And he led his legion on a crusade of like penitence across the Imperium, where he just went after every Chaos Marine he could, or every Chaos chapter he could find, and would relentlessly assault them until he came across a battle called the Battle of the Iron Cage, I believe. I may be incorrect, but that's what I think it was. But his death and disappearance is a bit more contested, right? So he went into a battle on a ship and then kind of vanished. And all they found was one of his hands. They found one of his arms, which now all of the chapter masters of the Imperial Fist carve their names into, which is really fucking weird. But yes, they carve their names into a 10,000-year-old arm.
An arm? Like an actual like arm.
Yeah, the bones of his arm.
Oh yeah, that is really weird. Ugh. So you mentioned that Rogel Dorn just like vanished.
Yeah. Conrad Kurz did say that he's dead and got ripped to pieces, but it's hard to know for sure if he was actually killed or if he just disappeared and he's still alive.
Yeah,
Conrad Kurz, a lot of people think he's lying.
I would not believe anything that Conrad Kurz would say. He just seems like such a liar. Has Comrade Kurz came back recently?
Conrad got his head cut off by an assassin.
Where you cut in for a little bit. What happened to Kurz?
He got his head cut off by an assassin.
Oh.
Like, Conrad Kurz is very, very dead.
Damn. Does anyone else know?
What, that Conrad Kurz is dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, the Imperium knows because they were the ones who sent the assassin to kill him.
Why?
Because he was a traitor?
Wait, what did Conrad Kurz do that was a traitor?
Well, for a start, he tortured Vulcan for about 20 years in his ship and constantly murdered him.
Yeah, fuck Kurz. No one does my boy Vulcan like that.
He disintegrated him in a spaceship engine multiple times. No, Conrad Kurz was a twisted fuck.
You know, I'm glad he's dead. Just because
me too.
he messed with my boy Vulcan.
Next, we're going to...
It's funny how much I just, like, 180'd on him, because all the shit you were saying, all the shit that you were saying was, like, made him sound, like, really cool and stuff, like, him fortifying defenses on Terra.
Oh, no. You're mixing up Rogel Dorn and Conrad Kurz.
Oh, yeah,
so Imperial... Rogel Dorn is cool. You're thinking of Rogel Dorn. Rogel Dorn is... You're fine with Rogel Dorn. Conrad Kurz, on the other hand, fuck that guy.
Yeah, fuck that guy.
So next, we're doing the next Primarch. We're moving on to the next Primarch, who is
Jagatai Khan. Two idiot gamers, where I get the names mixed up of Primarchs. Well, so Jagatai Khan, is this...
Jagatai Khan. Yes.
Is this relation to Genghis Khan?
No, he has not. He's a son of the Emperor. Duh.
Okay.
But the name is. He also has the title of the Great Khan.
Oh.
The culture he comes from is similar to Mongolian culture, right? But he's
Okay.
also the Khan, the Warhawk. He was the Primarch of the 5th Legion of Space Marines, also known as the White Scars, and led them through the Great Crusade and the Horus Heresy. Now, the planet he landed on was kind of split into two halves. One that, from what I can tell, was kind of super civilized and based off China, but to the point of like having weird feudal systems where they'd like murder people. Okay, maybe not the same as China, but they would murder people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he where he landed was kind of a wild area of the planet where it was just, well, for names, it's called Chorgris, right? The name of the planet was Chorgris. And his people, he landed in an area that had nomadic tribes that would move around the area, that section of the planet, where they would have armor-plated horsemen who would just travel everywhere. He rose to lead these guys pretty fucking quick because A, he was gigantic. B, he loved his speed. He would go fast. White Scars are all known for their speed, and their Primarch's the reason for it. He was also a spectacularly good swordsman. Like,
better than
I think he was
Sanguinius?
his equals were. I don't know, because Sanguinius didn't use well, he did have a sword, but I don't know if they fought the same way. But Jagadai Khan fought with twin swords, as far as I can tell from a lot of the art and stuff I did while researching this episode. I have not read a single one of his books. Sue me. I don't have money. Have you met me? I'm broke as shit 90% of the time. It's fine. And then the 1% of the time I have money, I'm spending it on Dragon Ball games, because yes. Dragon Ball games are sick, dude. They're fun. Anyway, most historical accounts indicate he built an empire on his own planet. He conquered the kind of oppressors. And he made himself the ruler of the planet. That's why he was the Great Khan. He was a good leader, though. A lot of the Loyalist emperors have this running theme of they improved everything on their planets. They made things better because they had a lot of their emperor's wisdom in them, which is weird. But he would unify. So he'd unify his planet, and then when he left, he gave his loyalty to the emperor without question when he met him.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of his journals say he's kind of weird with he has pragmatic reasoning for just like choosing to go with the emperor, but a lot of it's like, oh, there's some weird shit I need to see if I can stop.
So when you mentioned earlier that the White Scars are all about going fast and shit, it made me think of the when we talked about the orcs. One of the orc factions was like all about going fast and shit.
They're speed freaks, boys. Yeah. So that they kind of are the same kind of vibe, except that Jagadai Khan stuff actually works and it doesn't have like weird exploding bits on it. And is it all painted like straight up red? Although, I mean, most of his armors are white and red. Those are his colors. But they would go fast. They would go fast. They were like cavalry, because Jagadai Khan grew up as a Mongolian. You know what how Mongolia managed to conquer like most of the world?
Yeah.
In our time, do you know how they did it?
How they did it through numbers, right?
Oh, no.
No?
They did have numbers, but they didn't do it. They didn't conquer half the planet through numbers. They did it because they had mounted archers.
Ah, okay.
So they had tactics where they would kind of encircle people and fire arrows, kill them all from a distance while moving, so that the enemy archers couldn't get a proper beat on them to like hit them. They would go really fast while firing arrows at you. So it's not like it's impossible to hit them, but it would be a lot harder than if they were just standing on the opposite side of the field and like trying to aim statically at you, you know?
Yeah, moving target is always harder to hit than a stationary one.
And that's kind of how they would beat people. So they just kind of, when they had to fight straight up armies, they were also largely raiding parties. Think of them like horsemen Vikings. Because a lot of people know like the idea of Vikings and how they worked from like from the seas. They would like rush up over the water and take like villages near the sea, or at least that's how they did it in Lindisfarne and a lot of English towns back hundreds of years ago. But that's kind of the tactics they'd go for until the Khan was found, being the pragmatic guy that he was. He just kind of would go with things and choose based entirely on his own reasoning. In fact, his White Scars were quite easily, they took over everything, right? When they were when they had to go fight the orcs, and when they had to go on the Great Crusade, speed was their whole thing, right? They would speed through everything, take it over, and just like blast their way through things quickly. Which is also how they managed to like slaughter orcs quite quickly, is they'd have like scimitar pattern jet bikes, so they had like hover bikes that would go extremely fast on, like even faster than he could on when he had horses back in the day. And he would lead the assaults himself the whole time. He was one of those leaders, you know.
He'd actually fight with his army.
Yeah, although as far as I can tell, all the Primarchs did. They led a lot from the front, and like he got along with. He didn't get along super well with any of his brothers, but as far as I can tell, he didn't have any like straight up beef with anyone. To the point of when the Horus Heresy happened, Mortarion called him and talked to him and tried to convince him, and he listened. He listened to Mortarion, but he also looked at Mortarion and was like, "Bitch, your nose is falling off. I'm good." Because you know who Mortarion went with, right? He went with Papa Nurgle. So he
that makes
Nurgle's
sense.
blessings.
Wait, his name was Mortarion?
Yes.
Oh my god. Games Workshop and their naming conventions. Yeah, let's name the dude that's going to go with Nurgle Mortarion. It sounds a lot like Mortician, and Morticians are like with dead people. This name of Mr. Death, that would have been a lot more, a lot better.
I mean, but there's other reasons why he rejected Mortarion, because Mortarion was an immensely powerful psycho, right? But due to a lot of shenanigans, which I'll get to when I get to Mortarion and talking about him in our traitorous Primarchs episode. But he had a fucking hatred for psychers. He was the reason they banned psychers and librarians. And then he became a psyker for a chaos god. Like, so Khan also kind of met him and was like, okay, first off, your nose is falling off because you're sick with Nurgle's fucking blessing. And second off, you're kind of just like the biggest hypocrite I've ever met, so fuck this. Mm. And he decided, no, I'm not siding with you guys, because if this is the kind of people you are, I'm not going to go against the Emperor, who's at least kind of for humanity. You guys are just, like, insane. Look at Fulgrim. He's trying to fuck a wall. Oh no. What the hell? I'll get to that later.
Wait. What? You say he's trying to fuck a wall?
Well, I'm using that as a joke because I don't think he ever actually tried to do that, but it was more of a joke to say he fell to Slanesh.
Oh.
So I was like, what? No, this is demented, weird.
You know, if for like a minute I was like, oh, it's a Warhammer thing. Okay. Him trying to screw a wall. It's just another Warhammer thing.
It was mostly a joke, but yes. But
Oh, my fucking face. Oh.
but I will say this: so the White Scars and Khan himself fought on hundreds of worlds over 7 years against the Traitor Legions when the Horus Heresy happened, right? So they were fighting everywhere. They were killing all of these bitches. And at the same time, they had to fight against fucking orcs and other bitches at the same time. And they're like, what the fuck? So, and then due to a bunch of other shit that happened with with Leman Russ and Magnus, they heard that apparently they'd attacked each other and were murdering each other. And he was like, so the Khan's sitting here like, these people are all going insane. I don't really want anything to do with any of them. They're all dumb. But it did like wear down on him hearing the stories. But he was found. But by the time the like Horus Heresy started kicking off properly, he was still on a campaign against the Greenskins. He was fighting orcs.
How long was he fighting the orcs for?
He was fighting them for like a year or so when the heresy kicked off properly.
Oh, okay.
And the War Master, they didn't even know properly that had happened, and then Horus sent an order to them to go and kill the Space Wolves, so go and attack another legion, another Loyalist legion, and he was like, I need more information, this is a bit weird. So he decided not to go and just straight up attack. He's like, I need to go find out what's going on first. So he went back and talked to his brother. So he's one of the few who's like, I don't trust this order. I'm just gonna ask someone what the fuck's going on. So I'm gonna go. So he got ordered to attack Leman Russ, and he was like, you know what? I'm gonna just ask Leman what the fuck's going on. So he goes and asks what happened with a bunch of like wars and stuff. And then he found out, okay, so there was some bullshit going on here. People are intercepting things and making things worse. So I'll get to Leman Russ and why there was a problem with him.
Wait, Leman Russ is like the Leman Russ tank that the Imperial Guard uses?
Leman Russ, the Primarch of the Space Wolves.
So they named the tank after him? Or the...
Yep.
Oh, that's cool. He must have been like really fucking badass then.
He was. But I'll get to him in a second because he's another one of the loyalists. Anyway, going on with the Khan, who is fantastic and has some of the sickest looking designs. If you guys are listening to this podcast, go look up Jagatai Khan and just look at his designs. He just looks so cool. You guys, you got to go look at him. See if you can find his model and stuff. He looks sick. But so,
oh wow,
the White Scars then went
cool,
right?
Dude, that armor looks so pointy. Like especially like
it looks Mongolian. It actually looks Mongolian styled. It's so sick. I fucking love it.
Especially like the parts on the shoulder and shit.
Yeah.
It's like mini blades. That's really cool.
Yeah. So when there was, they were then asked to go and help Leman Russ with a different fight.
Hmm.
And the Khan was like, I do sympathize with you, but I'm not getting involved with shit until I know everything's going on, because I'm getting randomly contradictory messages from like 5 different people, and I don't trust any of these bitches. So I need to know exactly who's an enemy, who's an ally. And this is when his message with Mortarion happened. He was invited, and he went to go talk to him, and he also decided he does not trust the Alpha Legion for shit, which is good, because Omegon and Alfarius are conniving dickheads.
Honestly, that's like super smart when you're getting like contradictory orders. It helps to like get to the bottom of why they're contradictory and not just follow blindly.
Yeah, and he also then put out an order where he's like, listen to no. He told his legion, he's like, do not listen to anybody's orders except mine. there's too much like random chaos happening, so we're gonna just do our own thing and ignore these people. You guys just take my fucking orders until I talk to the Emperor himself and figure out what the fuck is going on. And I'm like, oh, so he's the one with the brain. Everyone else was just like, attack? Okay, cool, I'll attack. But he's like, yeah, no, I'm not putting up with that shit. I'm gonna go.
Or what happened next?
Okay, so what happened next was he ended up. He kind of went on a bunch of battles against everyone, but he also mostly just tried to dodge everyone for the most part because he was like, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to try and ignore it until he started finding traitors inside his own legion, which was just Alpha Legion dickheads who had infiltrated because that's their whole deal. And they would cause problems and there'd be lots of fights, and then he would be like, and then they have a fight, and then another thing, I have to fight. And they'd already found like a bunch of glassed planets and shit. So they just like, we're going to Terra. As far as I can tell, they just eventually would like, none of this is working. Everything's exploding. We're going to Terra. Where he ended up having to fight against Magnus the Red. And have to banish shards of his shattered brother, who'd become like a chaos demon. But he also did have to tell, he did express regret to his brother for not being at the Council of Nicaea, which was when they decided to ban psychers. And Khan probably would have judged with Magnus. But because of a lot of bullshit that happened where he got sent away, that didn't happen. More chaos was sown. And he just decided, fuck it, I'm going to talk. So they ended, and his legion started splitting in half, right? So there were some traitors who started preparing brotherhoods to go and try and take over, and they would all fight each other. And some were kind of loyal to Chaos, so there was a lot of infighting sneaking its way through the White Scars.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly because of this like distrust of everything in the Khan, trying to keep everything together under him and not do anything. So there was a bunch of fighting. A lot of people died. Friends died, enemies died, everyone's dead. But from my research, it kind of becomes a bit cloudy as to what actually happens to Khan at this point, where they kind of split, where he kind of seems to have split apart from everyone, and it talked a lot about his units all fighting each other, and a mortal woman who he knew, who I suspect was his mother, who were all fighting. They were all causing shit. It was problematic. But the Khan also then came across this. Holy shit. I can't remember. He just went and fought on Prospero like 6 times and then was like, okay, we're done. Let's go get to the Path of Heaven, which is 4 years later they get to fucking Terra. It took them 4 years to get to Terra from the outer rim of the galaxy. And they had to run from a bunch of people. So there was a lot of shit that happened, man. There was a lot. And then we get to the Siege of Terra. After like 10 different battles where they keep fighting stuff, and then he ends up having to avenge his mother, and there's a whole lot of bloody deals that go on. Which do end kind of in him fighting and killing a lot of people. And then so he fought in the Siege of Terra. But he didn't really do anything extremely noteworthy like some of his brothers, like Rogel Dawn or Sanguinius, or even Horus. But about 7 years after the Battle of Terra, right? After the end of the Horus heresy, he just sort of vanished. No one knows where he is. not dead, but he's kind of gone. No one's quite sure what happened to him. He's just vanished. They think he's somewhere in the webway because he went last time they saw him. He went into a Drakari portion of a webway. So you remember who the Drakari are, correct?
Yeah.
He went into a Drakari webway. Who's sending me fucking friend requests? I don't know who the fuck you are. Go away.
It's Jagged Khan. He's trying to contact you from the webway.
Oh, no! Dude, Jagged, come back to us! But so, yeah, he vanished into the webway and people don't know where it is, but they still fight.
So he's still fighting in the webway, right?
We don't know.
Oh, we don't know.
Could be. But he could be fighting Drakari in the webway. He could be dead. He could be just wandering through the webway. No one's sure what happened. He just sort of vanished. But his sons still fight in his name. And his personality was kind of... He enjoyed hunting things in the dark places of the galaxy. He liked being that, like, guardian. He wasn't like a berserker like Lehman Russ. He was kind of a
honorable warrior.
Yeah, he was the proper that like traditional honorable warrior who went and fought the darkness off. And yeah, that's basically his story. He just vanished into the webway. He's gone. And I gave you a really meandering version of Jagged Khan, but you should look into him. He's the guy who was fast. He was big. He drove fast. He was good with swords. He was sick. He had an epic scar on his forehead, hence the name the White Scars. But we're going to move on now. We're moving on next to Lehman Russ, who's one of the weirder stories, because he originally was just a human commander. He was originally in the original sets of the lore, so the first like 2 editions of the tabletop game lore books, he was just a human commander.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of where the Lehman Russ tank name came from.
Oh, did they retcon it then? Because
no, they do it a lot. 40k is rife with retcons. They retcon it like every edition. It gets more and more retconned and refined into something more and more interesting as they go along.
How did they explain it? Did they just say like, oh, he was always like a Primarch?
No, okay. So originally Primarchs didn't exist. The Primarchs only started existing at around like 4th edition.
Oh, okay.
Like Horus was a general originally who just turned traitor. Like he wasn't a big figure; he was just a general who turned traitor, and weird shit happened. But now we get on to Space Vikings, and in this case, the biggest, baddest, spaciest Vikingist of them all,
the Space Wolves. Oh,
well, Lehman Russ, the Wolf King or the Great Wolf, who is the Primarch. He's the currently missing Primarch of the Space Wolves chapter of Space Marines. Now, keep in mind, I said missing, not dead, because quite a few of these guys are dead, and there's one who I know for a fact is very, very, very dead. The rest, you could argue, might still be alive somewhere. One of them is as dead as you can imagine, and we'll get to him next. But for now, we're going to talk about our boy, the Space Wolf, who landed on the planet of the let's have a fight. We're gonna go land here on this planet here. We're gonna fight. It's gonna be good on Fenris. Land on the planet Fenris. Do you know who Fenrir is, or what Fenris would refer to?
Yeah, Fenrir is the giant wolf in the Viking lore. Giant
Norse
wolf.
mythology, yes.
Yeah, Loki's son, yeah.
So there's a lot of that shit.
Another thing of Games Workshop's naming conventions.
Oh, like Fenris being a cool planet.
They're Vikings.
The Viking planet's named after a wolf.
Yeah, Fenris, Vikings. You got it. Moving on.
So his planet, he was found by a tribesman who recognized the Primarch for being kind of something more human, not wolf. Because on Fenris, they have giant fucking Fenrir-sized wolves that they have to fight off and that they kind of hunt, right?
Oh, that's cool.
But when Leman Russ was found, he was kind of half feral because he kind of got on the planet and wasn't instantly found. He was found after a while, so he was kind of a half feral child who was just on the planet and who actually helped murder a giant she-wolf.
How the hell did he survive? How did he survive? Because you mentioned before all the Primarchs got sent to different planets as little babies.
Like infants?
Yeah.
They grow up extremely fast.
Okay.
And a little bit of warp magic thrown in there. In fact, he had to learn how to be human. So when he was found, keep in mind he wasn't found immediately, so he'd already grown up a bit when he was found.
Mm-hmm.
He'd already learned to fight stuff, and then he learned to speak from the humans who found him. They learned how to master their axes and swords. And then he was way too quick. He's one of those dudes who would sing. When you're in a pub and everyone starts singing drunkenly.
Yeah.
They start singing too loud and really off key, and they can't sing properly, but they don't care anymore. Yeah, that's the Leman Russ. That's Leman Russ. You get too into it, have too much fun doing stuff. And
sounds like a fun time.
Yeah, he became the champion of the Kingsguard for a while, just fighting people. Enjoying fighting, combat, having too much fun. But so he would speak a lot. He would drink a lot, he would have fun with everyone. He was a hero. He was like Thor. Think Marvel's Thor, right? Think of the first movie and how he's drunken, kind of tries to be is kind of heroic, does dumb shit. That was Leman Russ. When he was growing up, that's what he was like. He also eventually took the throne of Fenris. He became the king of Fenris and was the leader, hence the title of the Wolf King. When the Emperor finally got to Fenris and found him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He went to the planet and was like, "Come with me." And Leman Russ's first response was, "Fuck off." He told the Emperor to fuck off.
That makes sense. I like that. It fits with the whole Viking Viking thing.
He did offer him food. He wasn't a dick, but we was asked to go with the Emperor. First off, he was just told to fuck off.
It's like
then the Emperor tried again and offered him a challenge. He offered him 3, right? If he won, the stranger would ask for nothing, but to be allowed to drink the right hand of Russ during the feast. And if the stranger won, he would go with him, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the first test, I swear these tests are stupid.
Was it a drinking challenge?
First challenge was an eating competition.
Oh
Whoever
my
ate
God.
more.
This is some Viking shit. I love it. Okay, whoever could eat more.
Then challenge 2. The stranger lost the first challenge to Russ. Russ was eating. This man was a hungry man.
He's like a fucking Saiyan.
He's having fun. But then he was like, "Okay, we're having fun. Okay, cool. We're gonna do another challenge. Let's drink. So you can drink more, bitch." They ran out of drink. They both the emperor lost 2 challenges. He lost the drinking and the eating challenge, which is so dumb. It's so funny.
Isn't
the emperor insulted him?
How can't the emperor adjust his size and stuff and basically do whatever he wants to his own body?
Yeah.
And he still lost.
Yep.
Wow.
Mostly because they ran out of food. Leman was just eating faster.
And let me guess, the last one is a fight, right?
The last one, I do believe, was kind of
No,
Not a fight exactly. It was more to fight one of the wolves, I believe.
Oh, because I was gonna say it's either a fight or like a singing competition. Who can sing a better like
But to be
Viking
fair,
song?
that would be funny. It was combat. It was basically a sword fight.
Okay, it was a sword fight. What else happened?
So when it happened, the Emperor threw away his cloak that he'd been using to kind of hide himself, and his true form was revealed. And suddenly he was standing super fucking tall with golden power armor. And this time the Emperor just kicked his ass. With like one hit from his power glove, and Lehman was like, what the fuck? He was knocked out cold, and was like, for like an hour. When he woke up, he woke up, instantly looked at the Emperor, was like, yeah, you got me, man. Cool, that's for loyalty now, dude. Like, super chill mode. Like, there was no pissy. It's so funny. He pissed off the Emperor enough with stupid challenges that the Emperor was like, fine, I'll fight you and then bitch slap the shit out of you. It's like, wow, the Emperor's a fucking sore loser, dude. He's not much of a god Emperor if he's such a sore fucking loser. But then, yeah, then Lehman Russ was put in charge of this fucking Space Wolves. Although, I can't remember what they were originally called. They were given the name of the Space Wolves with all his gene seed and his DNA going through all of them. And he did bring quite a few of his friends from Fenris with him. That's also the home base of the Space Wolves, is not Fenris. But after this, they would go and they went out into the galaxy, and they were left to basically to end up policing the other fucking legions for being too brutal. Like, they'd have to go and fight the World Eaters because they massacred an entire planet just because Angron got too angry and decided he needed to murder not just the men, but the
women and the children too. I love how on point we were with that, the both of us.
Bruh. But like, so they did that, and then Lehman Russ had to go stop him. So he did. He beat the shit out of Angron. He won. He won it. He ended up becoming the guy who would like regulate all this shit. And he was also the like very much, his entire clan was kind of against Psychers as well. Mm-hmm. So when the Council of Nicaea happened, which was also long after everything, he was the one in charge. He was the one who kind of led the charge on that, and that led to a fight between the Space Wolves and the Thousand Sons. So Magnus and Lehman Russ fucking hated each other to the point of he was sent to Prospero, to Magnus's place, when Magnus tried to warn everyone of the betrayal. He accidentally destroyed the Emperor's webway project because he kind of flooded it with the warp while trying to reach the Emperor, because the Emperor was being fucking irritating and just being like, no, I'm going to ignore all my son's messages. So he like brute forced his way to be like, bitch, Horus has been corrupted. Can we please fucking do this? And everyone was like, no, we're going to put wards and we're going to hide everyone and just like ignore everything from last time. I was like, motherfucker, we need you. Why are you not listening? You bitch. But then as a result, the Emperor was left pissed because his webway project was destroyed. So he sent Lehman Russ to Prospero to go and rein in the Thousand Sons. However, Horus got a hold of the message before it got to Lehman Russ and twisted it just enough that it actually said go and slaughter the Thousand Sons. Instead of bringing back Magnus to Terra, it was go kill Magnus. And the Emperor was also easily led to believe that Magnus was the true traitor, not Horus. But so because Russ was convinced of this treachery, they burned his planet. They glassed it, killing many of his 1,000 sons. Who the only way that they could escape was that Magnus had to make a deal with Tzeentch, and they escaped into the warp.
Which leads into them showing up in the Space Marine 2 as the 1,000 Suns.
Yes. Oh, I mean, eventually, yeah, they show up in Space Marine 2.
So Leman Russ was such a badass that they named a tank after him in the Imperial
Pretty
Guard.
much. And Leman Russ fought in so many fucking battles. I mean, his sword was named Mjolnir.
Sounds like a Lord of the Ring elf name.
No, it's got spelling that looks like Mjolnir, but more irritating.
Of course.
Have you tried to read Mjolnir? If you try and read Mjolnir and you've never heard anyone say the name, you're like, how in the actual fuck are you supposed to say that out loud?
Mjolnir.
Mjolnir. Yeah. No, you're saying an L at the beginning. There's no L at the beginning.
Well, isn't the J silent?
That's Yalar. Yalar. Yelnar. Mjolnir. Anyway.
This is gonna turn
fucking sword.
This is gonna turn into another thing of us.
I could put it in a pronunciation guide, but I can't be fucked.
Of us like pronouncing Necron worlds.
God damn it! The Necron worlds are old. The Necron dynasties are still old, just fucking Egyptian. And I'm not good with Arabic names. Don't ask me to say Arabic names. Anyway, so Leman Russ kind of went on a bunch of adventures, and he ended up with the nickname the Emperor's Executioner, which led him to Siege of Terra. And he wasn't that useful in the Siege of Terra. He just kind of was trapped a little bit too far away, and eventually ended up getting to Earth, but like too late to actually help in any of the battles directly against Horus, and which is why Sanguinius and like Rogel Dawn had to go, while Leman Russ was fighting on the edge of the galaxy as opposed to like on Earth.
Do you think if Leman Russ was there, things would have went differently?
Probably. I don't think it would have. I don't know if it would have been good different. It just would have been different. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like what if Leman Russ was on the ship with Sanguinius, Rogel Dorn, and then the Emperor when they fought Horus.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been a different fight because Leman Russ did have his magic spear of truth.
Out of all the Primarchs, is like Leman Russ the one with like the most battle experience, or would that be someone else?
It's hard to say because they've all got quite a lot of battle experience. Because Leman Russ is like they're all naturally attuned to battle.
Mm-hmm.
For example, like Vulcan, Corvus Corax, fucking Horus. They're all great warriors. The Lion has pretty much similar. The Lion and Russ have basically the same fucking origin, just one of them was in a forest and the other was in the middle of the fucking Arctic. But it's the same thing.
One went to Endor, one went to Hoth.
Exactly, that's what happened. Except they weren't teddy bears on Endor, but yeah, it was more like one went to Kashyyyk and the other went to Hoth, and they fought fucking monsters. It's like, oh god, this sucks. So they're about this. I'd argue they're about the same combat skill wise. And he wasn't like Leman Russ wasn't that big on like stuff like formal military organization and tactics. He's just like, be brave, dude. We'll be brave and attack. We're good.
Did they have a like an equivalent to like Valhalla?
They kind of did, but they were also, because remember they're still Imperium.
Yeah.
So they still believed in a lot of Space Marines are a bit more aesthetic. Agnostic? Not agnostic. Atheist. Well, as close to atheist as you can be in a universe that literally shows you that the gods exist. Or that there are gods, because you can go and tangibly go fight the fuckers. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So Lehman Russ is one of the other Primarchs who just fucking vanished into the where the fuck. But a lot of people say he vanished into the Eye of Terror, searching for Lionel Johnson. There's some who said he just sort of walked off into a snowstorm and never came back, leaving all his sons waiting for their milk. But, you know, at the end of the day, he gave some instructions to one of his best friends, and then vanished after that. Took a ship and fucked off into who knows where. So, but for every standard year since he's disappeared for 10,000 years, they've laid the same place at the same feast. They've always laid his place, and the same drinking, and his drinking horn is always filled.
Just in case he comes back.
Yeah, but he never returned. So his second in command was eventually named the New Great Wolf, Bjorn. And the chapter went on their first great hunt to try and find their Primarch.
Wait, you said Bjorn. Was that the same one that was like that was the longest living dreadnought?
Bjorn the Fell-Handed? Yes.
Ah, that's
same guy.
Cool.
In fact, he's the oldest Astartes dreadnought still in service in the entire Imperium. He still can tell people about his Primarch. He remembers the Primarch's faces and names because he was there. But the great companies then took their void ships and split up and across the Sea of Stars, as they call it, or just fucking deep space. They fucked off in every direction to try and find it. So many worlds, and they started doing this as kind of like a tradition, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which then led them to find one of the first gene stealer cults, and then also destroy a gene stealer, planet. They started finding lots of these because they would just go on these things to try and find their Primarch. They'd go and explore. They'd go see everything, and then they destroy a lot of shit. Oh, and he also had his two wolves, Freki the Swift and Gary the Cunning. They were his actual wolves. He had fucking dire wolves as companions who fought alongside him. Yeah, no, Lehman Russ was a badass with a fucking sick looking sword.
Let me see. Is there art of his sword?
You can just look him up because he's got a mini. He's got a 30k mini that you can see that has all the details of the character. Because of course it does. Why wouldn't the minis show you what the character's supposed to look like?
Oh, damn. He has an axe in one hand and a sword in the other.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a cool ass sword. I like the three things that are sticking out.
Spikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those are really cool. How many more Primarchs do we get?
3.
3 more? Okay. Because the recording is going to end in 50 seconds, so I'm just going to stop it here and then start up a new one, so we can just take a little bit of a break in case you have to go. We're going to take a
break. We're going to take a quick bathroom break before I get back to talking about the Gorgon or Ferrus Manus.
All right. If you guys are listening to this recording, it's going to stop and then it's going to pick back up again. See you guys in just a bit. All right, guys, we're back. Back from that little break. Thank you guys for waiting. AC, which is the next Primarch that you're going to tell me about? Please be Vulcan. I like Vulcan.
No, Vulcan's probably going to be the last Primarch we talk about.
The best for last. Anyone
But the
anyone
one
who anyone who doesn't like Vulcan probably likes stepping on puppies. I'm just saying.
that's always racist, given
Wait,
Vulcan is blatantly black coded.
wait,
Like
what?
he is, Vulcan is black. Like he is.
Yeah, I know, but wait, how did that relate to what I said?
No, because you said everyone likes stepping on puppies if you don't like Vulcan, right? There's sections of the community I've seen who don't like Vulcan because he's black. They like their fascists to be white. Anyway,
I say
I'll
I
get to
should
that in a minute.
I say I shouldn't be surprised, but then I look at the fandom menace and Star Wars and shit, and then like, oh, okay, it makes sense. It sounds like every single fucking fandom has like that one subset of fans that are just like completely fucking racist when it comes to the characters. We can't escape it. We always have to get mad at how a character looks when they're not white. It's so dumb.
And it's so annoying that they care.
I know.
Anyway,
Vulcan's like the fucking coolest.
True. Anyway, next we shall be talking about Ferrus Manus, right? Also known as the Gorgon, the best friend of Fulgrim, and a bunch of other weird shit. But Ferrus Manus is kind of interesting because he's a little bit tied in with the Necrons, baby. He landed on the geologically unstable feral world of Medusa. He did get nicknamed.
Those names.
Bro, he's Medusa. He's nicknamed the Gorgon or the Iron Hand. Well, Ferrus Manus is kind of more high Gothic for Iron Hand, so he got named because he went and fought. Well, it was a giant snake worm that was basically made of necrodermis. So it was a Necron machine. It was a Necron robot, right? That he fought and killed with almost his bare hands. He had to throw it into some lava, into molten magma to kill it. And it kind of, in his death throes, marked his arms with this metal which then perpetually coated his arms and hands with necrodermis, so the skin of the Necrons. Hence how he got the name Iron Hands. He had literal iron hands. In fact, a lot of the art depicting him shows him not wearing armor over his arms because they're just straight up made of metal. They're not cybernetics. Keep this in mind, Chris. They're not cybernetics. They just have iron skin over them.
Oh yeah, I'm looking at a picture of him, and yeah.
So there's like that just is alive underneath. It's very strange.
Shit, yeah. It's like he's like it's like kind of like Colossus when he goes into his metal skin, but not all the way.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And he's still able to like use the hand and shit.
Yeah. Huh. No, they work perfectly because he was the only other. I mean, there were two Primarchs who were known for their craftsmanship, and that would be Ferrus Manus and Vulcan, who are known for like forging amazing weapons and shit. And these two, and I mean, Fulgrim also forged a sword. He forged a sword for Fulgrim, and Fulgrim forged a hammer for him, and they kind of became really good friends because Fulgrim forged him the hammer, which is called Forge Breaker, which he used to,
break forges.
No, go and smash people's faces in.
Oh wait, Manus made the hammer for Vulcan.
No. So Manus made Fireblade for Fulgrim. Fulgrim made a hammer for Ferrus Manus.
Oh, okay. Also, I sent you the picture of the thing I was looking at that showed off his iron hands on Discord.
Yeah.
And that looked really cool.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
It's him on like Terra where he's forging Fireblade for his brother. But yeah, he was really chilled and helpful and tried to help people. And he tried to build things. He was similar to his brother Vulcan. He liked to build things of beauty.
What else did Fulgrim build? Besides besides the items that he made for Vulcan.
He taught the people of Medusa how to forge and build weaponry, and he basically made his planet leap like hundreds of years into the future technologically with the stuff he built. He built bolters, he built guns, he helped create technology and stuff. Keep in mind, Forgebreaker was like basically a force sword. So you could like channel energy into it. This thing could cut through anything, and it would just cut through anything. Like it would burn white hot. Hence the name. Hence why it was a fire sword or fire blade. But then he went on the Great Crusade, and he regretted letting his legions, his children, copy him with his metal arms because he didn't like that. He wanted everyone to go back to being more human, losing the metal things. He'd just come to rely heavily on his metal arms, but they weren't like a replacement. He still had the flesh beneath the metal. It was more like a coating, and less like he got metal arms. He could probably he kept meaning to strip it, but never had a chance to strip the metal from his arms. But the Iron Fists, or the Iron Hands, his legion. Would
that's a cool name for him.
What, the Iron Hands?
Yeah, just based on him having iron hands.
Yep, that's basically how they named it. And then they would like his legion would also change their arms to also be more mechanical. They'd swap out their limbs to become more mechanical and less human to honor their father, who thought it was a terrible idea. And yeah, he led a bunch of successful campaigns, helped end the Age of Strife, and he was the head of the 10th Legion that became the Iron Hands. His story, unfortunately, is the shortest of all the Primarchs, and he's the easiest because when the Horus Heresy happened, he was stuck at the drop site Massacre, which was one of the first battles in the Horus Heresy. Unfortunately, he was also the first of the Primarchs to be killed during the Horus Heresy. One of the few who was properly killed. He was beheaded by Fulgrim, who, upon killing his brother, dropped to his knees and submitted it, and fell into such sorrow that he submitted himself to the demon that had taken over his body, just to hide from that sorrow.
Damn.
Yep. His story ended quite tragically, and I believe he then later did get resurrected as something known as the Sapphire King. But he was kind of like, he came back as, the Headless Horseman?
Yeah.
He was kind of summoned back as something like that.
Oh. I feel kind of bad for him.
Flaming head. Yeah, no, his head eventually was returned to his people, as far as I know. But he would have a flaming head and slaughter his enemies. But that was kind of the end, as far as I can tell, because...
Is he like the only Primarch that didn't really matter that much?
He did matter, but there's a few others who were like, they were there, they did stuff, they're dead.
Because you mentioned Fulgrim killed him. I'm guessing that was like the point of no return. Killing
for Fulgrim, yeah.
Yeah, killing his brother.
Pretty much.
Man, it kind of sucks when you make a character and just have them be, their main purpose is just to have them get killed off to bring up another character so so highly. I feel like they could have done more with this guy.
I think it's better that they did the way they did to also show the heresy was fucked up and people did, and like Primarchs weren't safe from just being murdered by each other, and that chaos will corrupt like completely. There's no like niceness to it, and then if they can do that better, it's better storytelling than trying to keep him alive. But moving on from the most depressing of the Primarchs to one of the most badass. Now, we're going to talk about Corvus Corax, or the Raven Lord. He's also known as...
Corvus is the Raven guy? The fucking names.
He's also known as the Liberator, the Deliverer, the Chooser of the Slain, the Shadow Lord.
Dude, I cannot get over the names. Let's model this guy after ravens. Let's give him the name Corvus.
I know, right?
It's so on the nose. Go on.
So, Corvus Corax was the head of the Raven Guard chapter of Space Marines. Now, he's kind of the same as Corvus Corax in terms of tactics, anyway, and in terms of like the vibe he gives, right? Because he was stealthy, he would fly to do stuff. Although he had a weird jetpack. Just look up Corvus Corax. You should see the pictures of his armor. It looks so cool. But he would have he had really nice.
Oh wow, he's like
lined armor.
He's like fucking he's like what he wasn't in Spider-Man Homecoming.
The Vulture?
Yeah, he's like Vulture with the metal ass wings. But it looks like he's kind of like basing it off of Sanguinius with like the wings.
A little bit, but so Corvus Corax is one of the he was also separated from the Emperor, and he ended up on a Baron mood called Lysanus. Holy shit, that's too many vowels in a row. You do not need 3 vowels next to each other.
They could have been more on the nose with a Raven planet. Just saying.
That's true. Inhabited moon of Kaivar. It's technologically advanced forge world, providing city-sized manufacturing. I don't actually know that much about this guy, about Corvus Corax. He was always kind of sneaky in a corner, doing his own thing. But the Raven Guard, he was like the nice version of Conrad Kurz, where I always mix him up with Conrad Kurz because Conrad Kurz did a lot of fucked up shit and had a fucked up story. But if you see some of the art of Corvus Corax on Kaivar when he first became the head of the 15th Legion, that art looks so sick. But also he was basically a vigilante with he was Batman levels of vigilante with the good side of stuff. No torturing people, no being like a complete prick. He was just,
Is this the guy that you were saying that there's like 2 Batmen?
Yes.
Okay.
This is the one that's the Batman not the laughing one, the other one.
Yeah, the regular ass Batman.
Yeah, this guy, he was stealthy. He was a badass. He was armed with just a giant gauntlet where he'd stab you with his giant fuck off claws.
Yeah, the art that I saw, he really, really sharp ass claws.
Yeah, so that would kind of be how he'd fight. His whole legion kind of fights with the stealthy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And using the claws and stuff to fight. So when they entered, as far as I know, they were the ones who took over Istvan, so the location of what later was the drop site massacre. he was also there for that as well. But he was the one who took over the planet in the first place with his Istvan III and managed to get his entire legion to take over that era, that like entire planet. He had several of his own big battles throughout the. Oh fuck! I forgot the Great Crusade, the Unification Wars, bringing.
Yeah.
No, not the Unification Wars, just the Great Crusade, bringing humans into compliance with the Empire. He had a lot of stuff, and then up until the fucking Horus Heresy came along and fucked everything up and took him to the Drop Site Massacre, where he was stuck on Istvan V.
Did he see? Did he see the?
His brother get
killed? Decapitated.
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, he was there. He was fighting alongside. Let me tell you who was on Istvan V when they got absolutely massacred. The Iron Hands, the Raven Guard, and the Salamanders.
No, not my boys, the Salamanders.
They were good against the first waves of assaults when the traders first came. They were good. They were fine. Then the reinforcements came and reinforced their enemies.
Hmm.
And then they were suddenly just utterly demolished. Of course, Corvus Corax survived. He managed to track down his brother and tried to kill him. By which I mean Conrad Kurz. He tried. He didn't succeed because, of course, Corvus Corax had a different... Well, Corax had... no, Corax. His dickhead brother had a different way of dying. Vulcan, him and his salamanders got nuked, literally. But yeah, Ferrus Manus got murdered, and Fulgon laughed in his face when the traitors arrived, before murdering his brother. But then he had Corax had to escape. So he managed to escape without dying, without getting too much, and tried to track down Lorgar, who was basically the guy who started this whole fucking bullshit thing. Him and Erebus. I'll wait till I get to Lorgar. Lorgar could probably have his own 2-hour thing where we just talk about fucking Lorgar and Erebus, who started all this bullshit and kept it going because they were religious nut jobs. Ooh, and Corax was fucking enraged. He slaughtered word bearers. So many of them. He did not like them. He was furious because they'd slaughtered many of his Raven Guard. They'd killed salamanders. They killed his brother's brothers, his sons.
Hello?
I'm just thinking about how many of these guys they fucking murdered. Sorry, it was a bit of I was trying to arrange my thoughts in the correct direction so I can.
No, it's fine. It's just that
too long.
I'm just so used to Discord fucking up on us. I just thought it fucked up on us again. So a lot of Raven Guard got killed.
Yeah, but while he was fighting, when he escaped Istvan and they clashed. He next clashed with the treacherous legions. He fought Lorgar, trying to kill him, while Lorgar just wanted to stay alive and not die. He was just fine to stay alive. Until he was met with a blade that mirrored his own, a face that looked like his. Oh, God. It was this dickhead. Conrad Kurz had arrived to fight his brother.
This asshole.
So the Night Haunter and the Raven had to fight each other.
Please tell me Kurz got killed.
No, Kurz did not die for a long time. However, However, Korax did escape. He did fire his jetpack and just, rip Kurz into the sky until Kurz let go of him and escaped. He ran away, but, just because there were too many of these assholes attacking him. And he was currently surrounded completely, and so he retreated. So Lorgar and Kurz walked off into the sunset together, still alive, no problems. Which led to a lot of slaughters. He slaughtered Death Guard. He slaughtered World Eaters. He went on a rampage. But he didn't do it head on, as most of these idiots would do. He would go through when they were resting and slaughter as many as he could, then vanish into nothingness. Even though he did try and help some salamanders escape.
That's good.
They were searching for their missing Primarch. But yeah, Korax fought everyone he could. He tried to save his legion, even though it was extremely depleted because of the drop site massacre.
I feel like the whole drop site massacre is just like equivalent to Normandy.
Kind of.
That's what it feels like.
It's more Dunkirk than Normandy. Because Normandy was when the Allies came back to save themselves, to take over. Dunkirk was when the Allies got kicked out of France, and they were getting shot on the beaches.
Okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't really know much about that whole thing as opposed to Normandy.
World War II? You mean World War II?
Well, I just know a little bit more because Normandy is like such a big thing that gets like I remember seeing Saving Private Ryan, and that whole opening scene was just like a complete clusterfuck.
Yeah, that's Normandy, but that was like they were doing well in Normandy. So even with the disorientation of like jumping off the boats into like deep water and stuff, they still did fine. Like they still made it up. I mean, the army did fine, not individuals, because there were individuals who just straight up drowned when they jumped in because their packs like dragged them down, drowned.
Yeah, but people
overall,
at Dunkirk didn't even have a chance.
At Dunkirk, people were like trying to swim across the channel, and the British public, not the military, the British public had to come on their boat, on like normal fucking boats, and pick people up.
Damn.
It's one of those like historical moments where people talk about it, and it sounds kind of unbelievable because it was like a dude on his fucking sailing boat pitched and was like, "Come on, let's get on my boat so we can get you back to England." Like that was the level of people just coming in their boats. They're like, "Do we have a boat? Cool. How much space has it got? Cool. We can take some soldiers." That's what they did. There were people. I think the only things that didn't come across were rowing boats, but everything else came across. If it had an engine or a sail, they came to come and pick up soldiers from Dunkirk. Like, it was one of those like big historical moments where, along with like, I'm getting distracted here, but like, along with the 1914 Christmas, where German and British soldiers just were like, "Fuck this," and started playing soccer.
Yeah, I saw that. I know about that. I saw that like in a Christmas commercial. I thought that was a pretty nice little moment. Our next series, AC teaches me about world history.
Because the American education system won't do that.
Yeah. But back on topic.
Anyway, back on topic. So, the Corvus Corax didn't quite make it to the Siege of Terror, as far as I know. The Raven Guard kind of had to vanish because they didn't really have many left. There weren't many Raven Guard left. They ended up just doing small hit-and-run guerrilla tactics that hampered the enemy, but they couldn't do anything big to go and, like, knock back the enemy. They were just doing tiny little attacks to try and slow them down as much as they could and vanishing. Then after the Horus Heresy, Corax remained unable to forget the growling aberrations of humanity that he kind of created by accident with some of the stuff he had done within the Horus Heresy that led to people making deals with, fucking chaos, man.
Yeah.
But he did a lot, and he created some like aberrations by accident, and it just haunted him. And because he trusted Gilliman, oh wait, I haven't talked about Gilliman yet either. I've only done 5 Primarchs. Oh no, we've still got 2 to go after this. Anyway, after this, he decided he was going to go and hunt down his brother Lorgar, the one who kind of started up this entire fucking bullshit parade of the Horus Heresy. It's almost all Lorgar and his first in command's fault. They did all of this shit. It's their fault. They were the ones who corrupted Horus in the first place, and then led to everything else that followed, and including the fall of humanity to whatever the fuck it is now, a crippled society that does nothing but fight itself. But he went in to hunt Lorgar within the warp. He literally went into the warp and has become kind of like a warp entity without really a corporeal body. He's just sort of a humanoid creature of blades and living shadow that can turn into a flock of ravens.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, but he does go and try and slaughter Lorgar, who's just stuck within the warp. So he's spending all his time tracking him down. He's still within the warp, as far as I'm aware. So, Corvus Corax, everybody. The guy stuck within the warp, hunting down those who killed his sons. He's a, angry Batman who's now become a Raven within the warp. Now, because edging Chris is so funny, we're
Why'd
going
you have
on
to
to our
say
next
it?
Primarch.
Why'd you have to say it like that, dude?
We're going on to our next
Come
Primarch,
on.
who is Rubute Gilliman. We're talking about Gilliman.
Yep, Rute Gilliman.
Yeah. Who is also known as
Rubute Gilliman, the leader of the Blueberry Marines.
No. The leader of the Imperium.
Oh, nice.
He is basically the Emperor now. At present he's basically the Emperor. The Emperor's still on the Golden Throne and talks to his son. But his son that he talks to is Gilliman. Now, Gilliman is the Primarch of the 13th Legion, also known as the Ultramarines. You know, the ones that have so much story that everyone sits here going, yes, I know, it was the fucking Blue Boys. Can we please talk about someone else? Can we not talk about our boys in black, or boys in red, or green, or any other, sect?
Yeah, I do feel like
Ultramarines.
I feel like the Ultramarines are like the poster boy of the Space Marines. Whenever you if you just think of Space Marines, it's always the Ultramarines.
It's true. It's true. But
which is just made even more apparent when like Space Marine 2 came out, and it's like got so many people into Warhammer. Oh, Ultramarines, those are cool.
True.
All right. What were you saying about Gilliman?
So, Gilliman landed on the planet of Macragge when he was an infant, right? And he was found by a Senate, by one of the 2 consuls who are, because it's Roman, it's very Roman-based. Macragge is a very Roman-based kind of civilization, right? They are very civilized, extremely advanced, and he was found by one of the consuls, who was one of the two people who rules over Macragge, right? There were two, and his father, Connor Gilliman, was one of them. And he raised Gilliman as a son, and Gilliman learned everything he knew about, like, ruling planets. And he learned everything he could from his foster father, or his, we're going to call him his adopted father because he spent all his life knowing him. But he was also granted, he also is the one who gave Gilliman his first command over a military force who went to go and see some of the tribes in the far northern lands who would keep attacking the main city of Ultramar. At least I believe it was called Ultramar. I might be just,
I mean,
you know,
that's
tangling facts, but it's fine.
Yeah, that's what I always hear them saying in Space Marine 2. For Ultramar!
Well, Ultramar is kind of the sector in space, I believe, that Gilliman helped conquer. But while Gilliman had gone north to go and placate the Northerners, Connor Gilliman's co-counsel unleashed a coup d'etat against Connor, which, it's not unknown historically, but it did end in the death of Gilliman's father, or Rabute's father. Figure he was killed. So when Gilliman got back, he found his father was dead. So he was like, fuck that. You know what? I'm going to take over. And you guys are going to get your asses beat. And I'm going to make everything better than you idiots made it before. So he did. As far as I can tell, he kicked out of everything and started changing everything. Because a bunch of people, so the co-conspirators of this coup d'etat were caught by Gilliman and publicly executed. Well, the ringleaders were publicly executed and the rest were sentenced to hard labor and rebuilding the city they ruined because they decided they wanted power.
I mean, that's a just punishment, I would say.
And then Gilliman also went, okay, fuck this, we're getting rid of this aristocratic bullshit, and stripped most of them of their land and titles, and remade the society. He also helped build in the new technology. It was decimated, so it was given to everyone instead of hoarded by those at the top. So Gilliman made sure everyone started getting it, so everything started building up. He started making sure everyone got money. He started, doing the stuff that the American government keeps claiming it would do, but never actually does. So instead of taxing the poor so the rich can get richer, they started taxing the rich and lowering the taxes on the poor, making sure the poor got tech, got stuff. And as a result, Gilliman is extremely well loved by those of Ultramar, to the point of they have giant statues to him. They adore Gilliman there, man. This is why the Ultramarines are the best. They're just good at everything.
Ultramarines are the best.
Yeah,
right.
At least according... Well, I mean, they did also form a mini empire that was made up of 3 star systems called Ultramar by the time the Emperor found them.
Yeah, but how do they treat the civilians? How do they treat the people?
Well, there's a reason I said Gilliman uplifted the poor. He helped fix the taxes of the poor, on the rich and the poor. He fixed a lot of problems that were there. And then he was finally found by the Emperor.
So the Emperor found Gilliman.
Yep. The Emperor found Gilliman, and Gilliman kind of just went, yeah, all right.
Yeah, okay.
As far as I could tell, that was basically his reaction. It wasn't a big thing. He's just like, wow. He met a Primarch who was just like, Okay, he swears fealty to the Emperor, who he knew who was his true father, you theorized correctly, and just was like, yeah, I know why I exist. I'm clever enough to have figured it out. I'm analytically intelligent. So much so that I will bang space elves in 10,000 years.
Wait, that's a
I'm not
thing he
gonna-
actually did?
You can't convince any of the fandom he isn't fucking that Farseer.
Wait, I've seen like art of Gilliman with like the elf lady, but I thought it was just like a meme and shit. But he's actually like married to like an elf lady?
Married? Are you insane? Marriage isn't a thing in 40k. Well, at least not for these people. It's more of, uh, convenience type deal.
Yeah. Convenience.
Like she saved his life and gave him some magical stuff. And he's now giving back with his. Anyway, as quickly as that happened,
Oh, her name is Yvrain.
your brain, yeah.
Huh. I'm looking like of this, and like the first thing when I googled Gilliman elf girlfriend was 40k lore on Reddit. What's this joke about Gilliman having an Eldar GF? I thought it was just like a whole meme and shit.
It's one of those things where like it's not explicitly said in the text, but if you like if you like read a bit of it and you look at the characters' interactions, you're like, no, those two are definitely fucking.
Oh, someone said Yvrain is the emissary of Yanid, the Eldar goddess of the dead. She helped revive Gilliman because Eldrad saw that the Eldar and the Imperium needed to work together. That's basically it. It's just the joke in the community.
That's what I said. The whole community's like, you are definitely fucking. There's no chance you're not. But it's a community thing. That's what I said. Like, it's not in the text. I never said it out loud, but it's one of those things where everyone's like, yeah, no, they're fucking. You can't lie to us and say they're not. Anyway, so going back to the time before the Horus Heresy, to the Great Crusade, before Gilliman had any of that, he still has that to come.
I just sent you a picture that I saw on Google when I was like looking at the images.
Best memes I've ever seen. That's so good.
If for the people listening, it's a Gilliman looking at a picture that the elf lady or a note that the elf lady gave him, and it says Happy Father's Day, and he's like, thanks, I guess. And the elf lady has a pregnancy test, he points at it, and then he goes like completely like fucking slack-jawed, and then there's like a little apparition of the Emperor above him, and Gilliman just like looks at the apparition like, oh fuck. Oh, my fucking face. Oh.
You're laughing too hard for this, Chris.
I know.
I think I realized why I didn't want to do Gilliman, because he's got so much shit he did. Because he was like, when Horus is the war leader, people were just like, the Ultramarines were just the single biggest amount of Space Marines ever. There was just fucking 25,000 of these bitches. Before the, Istvan 3 atrocity and a bunch of other nonsense things that they did. But they had a lot of fights.
So like the Ultramarines are like the chapter of that has like the most amount of people in it, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, still does.
We need to get more people to be salamanders.
Salamanders.
To offset that.
Yeah. We need more salamanders and like
Dude,
Dark Angels. The Dark Angels are so cool. I've been converted.
I feel like
But
if Games Workshop made like an online MMO or something, and you had the option whenever you started a new character to pick like a chapter of Space Marines to make or to go into, I feel like salamanders would be up there.
I agree.
So you mentioned earlier that Gilliman spoke with the Emperor,
Hmm.
but the Emperor was on the Golden Throne. How did that happen?
So it's weird. Okay, so I'm gonna just quickly gloss over his Horus Heresy stuff, where they kind of led a bunch of battles, and they ended up stuck in Imperium Secundus, created their own thing, then arrived at the Battle of Terra to just be the big. See, these are the hyper cliff notes because he also fought Angron and he fought a bunch of his brothers. Anyway, skipping through all of this shit as fast as I can. They got to Terra. They saved everyone's asses. Emperor died. Well, got stuck on a fucking throne, right?
Yeah.
And then he started the second founding, which is where he ended up creating the Codex Astartes, right? Which is how we ended up with like 1,000,000 chapters that are all like linked backwards to the main legions and so on.
Yeah. The Codex
And
Astartes does not support this action,
yes,
and thus Leandros was born.
yeah. So he kind of died. He was fatally, fatally poisoned in inverted commas. He was poisoned by the dark by trying to remember which of his brothers fucking poisoned him. It wasn't Belisarius. Fuck, no, I have to look through all this shit to remember who the fuck poisoned him. Alfarius. No, it wasn't Alfarius.
I am Alfarius.
Oh, shush. So he had a fight with one of his brothers, and I believe it was Lorgar who ended up poisoning him. He ended up going into stasis while his body healed himself, and he was kind of dead, but not dead.
I googled it and it said Fulgrim poisoned Gilliman during the duel between the two.
That makes most sense. Yeah, Fulgrim makes the most sense.
Alright,
Fulgrim makes the most sense. Yeah, you're right. It was Fulgrim.
Fulgrim poisons Gilliman and Gilliman almost dies but gets put in a cryo chamber,
Stasis.
I'm guessing.
Yeah, well, into a form of stasis. I don't know how it worked. But it was so he could slowly recover. And he did over 10,000 years.
Oh, God.
Slowest rest time ever, man. But after about 10,000 years of the Emperor of Mankind sitting on the Golden Throne, in the 41st millennium, the orcs wreaking havoc everywhere. The Tau Empire expanding, the Tyranids coming in, the Necrons waking up, Abaddon the Despoiler coming back for his 13th Black Crusade, the High Lords of Terror being fucking stupid and just killing billions of people because they don't know what they're doing and they're just going for stuff, and then the Eldar being like, Imperium's in trouble, and we need them to be a distraction so we can do our own thing and kill Slaanesh with our god. Right, we're gonna go wake up Gilliman. Cool. So, as you said before, Euphrain goes and wakes up Gilliman.
Mm-hmm.
She goes and heals. So it goes and heals him, and then he goes to speak. The first thing he does is he goes to see his father on the Golden Throne.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when he sees him, it's described as if he has a psychic vision. So he has kind of the psychic vision. Then when it kind of ends, because he never really describes it to anyone else, he's got the sword of the Emperor. He's got like the Emperor's sword.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to remember if he did it before or after he fought Mortarion within the warp, and then like had a big fucking battle with that guy.
From what I remember, I think it happens afterwards because Gilliman's like completely disgusted with how the Empire is.
Oh no, he doesn't fight Mortarion. He fights Angron. He fights his hopped up rage corn brother and beats him. He manages to kill him, but using the sword of the Emperor.
Okay.
So his brother gets so the lion gets the shield and Gilliman gets the sword. They get different pieces of the Emperor's war gear.
Okay.
But he also then leads a Terran crusade to try and rebuild, or the Indominus crusade to try and rebuild the Imperium, build up the amount of galaxy. I was going to say land, but I'm like, it's planets. It's the little dots of land that you can get. But he also has to make a bunch of other deals with some dodgy people. Like he has to make a deal with with some the blacks. Oh wait, sorry, no, he's not the one who makes the dodgy deals. That's his tech priest who makes weird dodgy deals with people. Mostly Drakari, but yes, they make some weird dodgy deals to go and fix things. And they have to fight into a Blackstone fortress, which you know what a Blackstone fortress is?
Not that I remember, no.
So Blackstone fortresses are Necron fortresses that kind of stop the warp moving. They distill
right. Okay, yeah.
So Blackstone fortress.
It's coming back to me.
And that just like stops the warp and makes it so most demons can't come out or do anything weird. But like the amount of weird shit Gilliman needs help from so many random things when he first wakes up, and there's like enough stuff he does after waking up that we could just keep going and going and going all night, just talking about fucking Gilliman. Because there's the Indominus Crusade, the first phase, then there's the Plague Wars, which a lot happens, and then there's like the newest stuff that's happening. We're not going to talk about all of this because we're never ever going to get to fucking Vulcan at this rate. But I will be able to say that like Gilliman's pre his heresy era war gear and his 40k era war gear is so different, and his 40k era war gear is so much better because he's got the Hand of Domination, the Emperor's Sword, the Armor of Fate, Iron Halo. He's got like a bunch of cool shit that's like Empire. Just got so much cool shit.
Do you think you said that Gilliman is like currently like the Emperor right now? Do you think when he came back after he was awakened, he was happy or like sad to see like the state of what the Imperium was in?
He was fucking depressed to see what it was in. He was Chris, he went off and murdered the High Lords of Terror because he thought they'd fucked up so bad.
And he was just basically fuck it, I'll fix it myself, right?
Pretty much.
I kind of feel bad for him. He was like he was in like the golden era of the Imperium where everything was fine. He almost dies, gets frozen, and then wakes up like 10,000 years later, and everything's just gone to shit, and it's like a husk of what it was.
And he's like the thing that makes him the most angry is when people like praise his father and go, "Hail to the God Emperor," and he's like, "No, fuck no! That's not what my father fucking wanted. He did not want this. He did not want this. Why are you doing this? Stop." He's currently the Imperial Regent, which is pretty much just the fucking Emperor with extra steps. Because he does the same things as the Emperor, and yeah. Now, moving on from the guy with way too much story, because I don't have all night. I need to go and do shit.
And we gotta record our reactions to the Skeleton Crew after this.
Oh, we can't do that tonight. We're gonna have to do it tomorrow.
I work tomorrow.
Then we'll have to do it the next day. We've got time.
All right.
We'll find the time.
I can probably
we have to do it before you go to work.
Yeah, I can probably squeeze it in Saturday.
Yeah, we'll do Saturday. Anyway.
Best Vulcan. For last. Let's go.
We gotta get to your boy. Vulcan.
We're finally here, guys. We're finally talking about Vulcan.
Your favorite of all time.
The GOAT.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Vulcan.
So, Vulcan was fired off into space, right? And he landed on the planet Nocturne, which is
the best planet.
No, it's a shit planet.
The best planet.
What are you talking about?
The best planet for the best Primarch. Okay, so he landed on Nocturne. What happened next?
So on Nocturne did some weird things to him, where he kind of got a little bit mutated, but only a tiny bit, where he got glowing red eyes and, pitch black skin. And on Nocturne, he was then taken in by a blacksmith who trained him to be a blacksmith as good as he is. Trained him in the arts of the crafts he is known for the things he's good at building. So he ended up slowly becoming, like many of his brothers, he ended up leading his planets, as he was the biggest, the strongest. He could do the most useful stuff on the world. So he would go and fight the big drakes. He would go kill dragons and stuff. And he also, because his planet was very much picked on by the Drakari, he went and became the defender against the Drakari. You do remember who the Drakari are, correct, Chris?
Yeah.
So he became the defender of against the Drakari, who would harass Nocturne. And he had a lot of them harassing Nocturne. Like, he fought off a fair amount. And he became very famous on Nocturne as the defender of Nocturne. And then, after several years there, and after his victory against the Dark Eldar, a dark sort of outlander appeared and challenged him during some opening ceremonies. He had unusually pale skin, and he had strange, unfamiliar clothes, and everything was made of unfamiliar stuff, because they're not Nocturne's not a hyper-industrialized world, it's just a world. So, when he came, he challenged Vulcan, and they had... Well, he didn't challenge Vulcan so much as they both partook in the tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
And within that tournament, Vulcan and the stranger were both got to their first things was, well, rather, the tiebreaker challenge was they were given 24 solar hours to forge a weapon before using that weapon to hunt down and slay one of Nocturne's reptilian salamanders. Now, These salamanders are the sizes of dragons. They're basically just dragons.
So they're salamanders, but they're the size of dragons. Do they have wings?
No.
Okay, they're just giant ass salamanders then. Okay. Do they like breathe fire?
They do. They're gigantic bastards. So I gotta add that they're gigantic, and that when they got to the final trial and they actually did the salamander slaying, the stranger got a bigger, hunted down an even larger one than Vulcan, who had forged a giant Warhammer, while the stranger had forged a, good old fashioned short sword. Razor sharp. They both hunted down and they both found one each. Now, Vulcan's one was massive, don't get me wrong, but the one the stranger found was even larger. But he elected, instead of when they crossed each other's paths across a giant magma flow, they paused, looked at each other, and the stranger used his giant salamander as a bridge to pass the magma, leaving his salamander behind to dissolve, to burn up. Which led to the discovery that this man was the emperor of mankind. Of course he was.
Obviously.
But Vulcan, when he was given the prize for winning, turned to the stranger and bowed his head and pledged all his allegiance. And then he was given the 18th Legion.
What is the name of the 18th Legion?
The Salamanders.
That's right, the best fucking Legion. Move over, Ultramarines. We're gonna dethrone you as the poster boys of the Warhammer franchise.
Yeah,
what makes
way better poster boy if you ask me.
Yeah.
But when he was given his legion, they had been kind of destroyed because they were almost Kriegsman level of suicidal with the way they'd go into battle. So they would try and save everyone, and they'd get murdered quite a lot.
Now, what makes Vulcan and the Salamanders so good?
Well, let's start with Vulcan. Vulcan is probably the most human of his brothers, the most compassionate. And he always gives everything to save as many of those beneath him as he can. His forces are probably the best because when they go and take over worlds, they would never... go and just slaughter innocents. They wanted to protect the innocents. That's what they were for. They were there to protect humanity, not to replace it.
That's my boy Vulcan.
But Vulcan, he led a lot of battles. He saw and had his own, problems. But his main thing...
What was his main thing?
His biggest problem was when his remembrancer got murdered. He kind of lost his shit and slaughtered a bunch of Dark Eldar.
That's the one thing that I hear a bunch. That he burned like an Eldar. Yeah, he burned an Eldar child alive or something.
Okay, that one's different. So that wasn't Drakari. When I can tell you about that incident where he found the salamanders came across a world where during the Great Crusade, where humans were living alongside some Exodites, who are a kind of Eldar who have kind of rejected technology, and they have giant dinosaurs that they ride around and attack people with.
Oh, that's cool. Wait,
Attack their enemies with.
Didn't you tell me about them when we talked about the?
Yeah, they also don't have like they don't have craft worlds. They have just garden worlds, their own home worlds, as it were. And they tend to be very protective of their home worlds. But there was this colony where they lived in peace with the humans, and due to some problems and bullshittery that happened, Vulcan ended up killing an Eldari child.
Now, was it on purpose or on accident?
No, it was on accident, but the guilt of it always stuck with him. He never managed to shake that guilt. Just because he did it didn't mean he liked it.
Yeah.
And that kind of stuck with him. He didn't really want to.
That's like the one thing that I always hear, like I said before, that is that he burned an Eldar child alive. But
yes, he did.
And they always mention that he felt bad about it, which is really weird to hear get mentioned. Like, oh, he felt bad about it, which makes me realize, oh yeah, this is Warhammer. Like, say it was like an Ultramarine or like another Space Marine faction.
Brothers, they probably wouldn't have given a shit.
Yeah, they would have just like fucking burned that child alive and then slept.
Dude, it would have been it would have been that fucking meme from Hot Fuzz with the shotgun just.
Yeah, yeah.
That's literally what they would have done. It's like shame. But so the next thing we have to talk about again is the drop site massacre, which hit the salamanders the hardest of everyone.
No, my boys.
So they got wiped out till there was about a quarter of them left. They got slaughtered. They got nuked and when I say nuked, I mean they literally got nuked to the point of like trying to kill. Just straight up trying to kill. Child burning. We're talking about 40k. But yeah, so they got nuked because they were trying to kill Vulcan specifically. They couldn't, but they did take Vulcan afterwards. Conrad Kurz took Vulcan and imprisoned him upon his ship, wherein he spent a while just straight up torturing him and discovered he's a perpetual.
What's a perpetual?
An immortal. It just means you can't kill this bitch. He would just infinitely heal. It's like kind of like Wolverine, where he would kill him and then he'd heal back and he'd kill him and he'd heal back and he'd kill him. He killed him a lot. Until
there's like different kinds of immortality. There's like an immortality where they won't die of old age, or like disease, or like starvation, or there's like immortality where if you like completely disintegrate their body, they'll just like pop back up somewhere else, or they'll heal from that somehow. I'm guessing that's what Vulcan is, the second part, right?
So he's definitely not dead in 40k, but no one knows what the fuck happened to him. He's somewhere. Anyway, back on track to this thing where his imprisonment upon the ship of Conrad Kurz, where it took him a while. He first got tortured until Kurz got bored of torturing him, and then was like, fine, let's taunt this bitch, and taunted him and tried to then he like taunted Conrad Kurz into fighting him fists alone, no weapons, nothing. Vulcan kicked the shit out of him because Vulcan's way stronger. He just picked him up and threw him like he was a fucking sack of potatoes.
Get fucked, Curse.
Yeah, he broke that. He was stuck within an energy shield, and he broke the shield with Kurz. He used Kurz as a hammer, which is still the funniest thing. But he managed to use it to get his shield. He managed to do it to get to his hammer, which had a teleporter inside it.
Of course.
Secret teleporter of his own that he built into it, and he used it to escape this ship and teleported halfway across the galaxy to appear in the upper atmosphere of Macragge. So he got all the way back to his brother. He got to a safe planet, but he did also then drop himself from orbit and was burnt to a crisp.
Yeah, but he's like, nah, I'd win. He said that to the planet before he went into the atmosphere. Nah, I'd win, and then he didn't die, so he won. God, I love Vulcan so much, man.
It perfectly, but yeah, when it did cripple his mind for a while, make him very mentally unstable due to the pain.
Yeah. But I'm guessing he eventually got past that and returned back to normal.
Kind of.
Oh no! What happened to my boy?
So he lost his mind and he had to be reset. But he only got reset when he was hit by a spear forged by the Emperor that brought back the truth. He was basically dead in a mortuary chamber for a while, and when he woke up, he was kind of insane and angry and just started charging around, walking around.
Burning everything?
Not really. He wasn't burning things. He was just hitting things and ended up jumping into a volcano. He literally jumped into a volcano. He was gone for a while again. He burned himself away to try and reset his body.
Huh. Is that when he just disappeared? Or did that come after?
No. So he's the first time he disappeared. He's done it twice. So after that, he kind of got reset by a spear used by Lionel Johnson, which he kind of got stabbed in the heart, reset him back to normal. Then the whole fucking Horus Heresy went and finished. He did not partake in the rest of it, but he did take part in the War of the Beast, which was a war against an orc war, which was which was big enough to scare the Imperium, like it would destroy him, boys. It didn't, obviously, but it was largely due to Vulcan smashing in the beast and destroying his hammer. He did kind of have a spear tip coming out of his chest, and then sort of seems to have vanished. No one really knows what happened to him, except for the fact that he left kind of a note and to find several artifacts to resummon him. And that's about it. Only the Salamanders know for a fact that Vulcan is still alive. They just don't know where he is.
I really hope that they bring him back. There hasn't been anything book wise to say oh, he's back, or lore wise.
Nope. The closest we've got is an announcement for Fulgrim coming back. Vulcan is gone, but that does bring us to the end of the Loyalist Primarchs. There's a reason I didn't do all 20 Primarchs in one video. There is too much to go through, and quite frankly, the traitor Primarchs have more lore to them because a lot more of them didn't die during the Horus Heresy or go missing. Most of them are just like demons.
Of course. It always comes back down to chaos.
It's always Chaos's fault. But yeah. But that'll have to be it for today's video. We are done with the Loyalist Primarchs. We will be back with more lore in 2 weeks about the other side, and you'll finally hear about Horus Lubrical and his fucking irritating... Okay, Magnus is cool, but the rest of them are kind of dickheads. Yeah, no, I don't like any of the rest of them.
So next week is going to be like our regularly scheduled podcast. But next Thursday is the Game Awards. So hopefully if AC plans on staying up, we can go ahead and watch it and like react to it live. If he isn't, I'm going to be live recording my reactions to it and shit. But yeah, do you plan on staying up to see the Game Awards, AC? See what gets announced?
I can. I mean...
Because I think you might be interested. Harada... There's been a lot of talk about like Harada and like the new Tekken announcing like the final character, and a lot of people are hoping it's Kiryu. I am too. But that's not Warhammer related. That's something only the people that watch this live can listen to. As the people who listen to this live, thank you for listening, and a special thank you to AC for educating me on Warhammer.
Yeah, now you know about the top Primarchs.
Yeah, the only top one being Vulcan.
Gilliman's pretty good.
Yeah, Gilliman's like a close second. And Kurz is like on the bottom.
No, not Kurz. Conrad Kurz. Is it Conrad Kurz? Yeah, it is Conrad Kurz. You were correct. Conrad Kurz deserves to be at the bottom forevermore. Fucking prick.
He should have been that Eldar child that got burned alive. I'm just saying. And no one here can disagree with me because we all know it's the truth. But yeah, we will see you guys next week for the next episode of the podcast. Thank you guys for listening. We will see you guys next time. And of course, have a good one.
Cheers, Johnny.
Johnny.